What's up, YouTube? Easy breezy here, and I have something to talk about. So come on in the room. Today's topic is ambitious women are constantly misunderstood. Hey Montel, hey, I'm ready for this one personally. I'm ready too, okay? If y'all are in the chat, go ahead and leave a comment real quick. Leave some pink hearts. Leave something so I know y'all have a heartbeat, okay? What's going on, you guys? Welcome to my channel. Thank you for tuning into the live. And yeah, so in this video, I want to discuss, in my opinion, why ambitious women are constantly misunderstood. Okay? Now, by definition, right? Not in my feelings, not giving my opinion about this, but technically we live in a patriarchal society that is ran by majority men. So, the rules, the laws are created by men, right? Yes, as time goes by, when people fight for their rights and fight against injustices, you know, certain laws have to be passed to please the people, right? But in essence, the majority of the laws created in the culture that is developed in America and many other places is male centered, and it is for the benefit of the male. And to reinforce that, we have religion, which basically teaches people that women come from men, right? And that we are inferior to men because men are the head, women are below them, right? When we're talking about a nuclear family, we never describe it as the male has his jobs, the woman has her jobs, and they're equally as important in their own right. We literally measure it on a vertical scale. So when people think male, they automatically think above women. So men grow up feeling like they are inherently more important than women, or they are more needed than women, or they are number one, or they are the best, or they are above women, right? Not taking into consideration that men and women both need each other. Men have their strengths and their weaknesses, and women have their strengths and their weaknesses. But because we live in a male-centered government who create the rules, and because religion also enforces the idea that men are above women, men are automatically put on a pedestal. Now, this sounds like it'll benefit men, right? It sounds like that it'll benefit them, but it actually doesn't in some cases. I think most cases, but in some cases, because when men are put on a pedestal, right, there is a higher expectation for men. And when men are not able to meet that expectation, they begin to have self-esteem issues. They begin to have insecurities, you know, and these self-esteem issues and these insecurities come out right? It starts from being hurt and feeling inadequate, but a lot of times it comes out as anger, right? A lot of men don't understand why they have so much anger towards women and why they're so reactive towards women. And it's not because women put you on this pedestal and women gave you these high standards and is forcing you to do this, but that was instilled in your brain, right? By your father or by just the culture of America in general. So men are already pressured to be something, to do something. And when they're not able to perform on that high level, a lot of them are angry. A lot of them project on their women, right? Now, because we see men as the superior human being, right? That should automatically mean that women are inferior, right? That should mean that women are not as intelligent, not as logical, that women are not as capable as men because we are the inferior gender, right? Right? Like I mentioned before, as time goes by, when people fight for their human rights, the government has no choice but to grant us these rights, right? Because people begin to rebel, people begin to boycott, women. I mean, there's a 4B movement going on the other half of the world where women are literally omitting from dealing with men, period. Okay? So when people aren't treated right, when people are abused, they react. In order to not have the country in complete turmoil, yes, we have to change things. Yes, we have to grant people human rights, right? So as time goes by, as women are gaining more rights, we're able to vote, we're able to have a bank account, we're able to own land, we're able to initiate divorce when we're not happy. Now that women have rights to be human, right? Now we're seeing how capable women actually are. Now we're seeing how intelligent women actually are, because now we're able to exercise our strengths. Where before we weren't able to exercise our strengths because we were being debilitated. Now we're seeing how powerful women are spiritually, mentally, physically. Now that women are able to play in these different industries, right, and make money, we're seeing how capable and how impressive women can actually be. Now, because we still have this idea constantly reinforced by religion that men are above women, it is hard for men to accept when a woman is phenomenal, when a woman is highly ambitious, when a woman is highly producing, because he's the one that's supposed to be up here. He's the one that's supposed to be superior, right? But it seems as though women are on the same level, if not higher, in a lot of different areas. And that is pissing the men off. Not all men, because not all men have internalized misogyny. Not all men hate women. Some men actually do see women as their equal and respect women as people, right? But that's not all men. Some men want to believe in their mind that women are inferior. So no matter how amazing the woman is, no matter how powerful the woman is, these women will still be disrespected and still be belittled by certain men. Now, going back to the title of this video, highly ambitious women are constantly misunderstood. Not by just men, but by women with this internalized misogyny as well. Now, I feel like as a collective, women want their human rights, right? Women don't want to go back to the 1800s where we couldn't do anything, own anything, get out of situations, and we had to connect to a man in order to survive, right? I'm pretty sure women don't actually want that. But there are women who are unambitious. There are women who do not believe in themselves and do not have a high self-esteem that feel like, well, if I, and this is not a conscious thought, right? I'm not literally saying that they say this to themselves. It's an unconscious belief. Because they feel like they cannot chase their dreams, or they have nothing to add to the world, or they don't have the discipline to carry out certain goals or certain dreams and really do what God wants them to do, right? Because women have this subconscious belief that they can't do it, a lot of women settle for being a girlfriend and being a mom. Now, in no way, shape, or form am I saying that being a mother is a downgrade or it is always the result of a woman settling, right? I wouldn't say that, because there are women that raise beautiful children, right? Without Miss Tina, we wouldn't have Beyonce. Okay, so we need moms, okay? Without Andrea, we wouldn't have Easy Breezy. Okay, so we need these mothers that do desire, these women that do desire to be mothers and desire to have children, right? And I feel like all women have that desire, at one point in life or another. I definitely have that desire. So yes, it's not necessarily settling, but what I'm saying is when women subconsciously lose faith in themselves, lose faith in their dreams, and decide that, you know what, instead of taking the hard route and going back to school, instead of taking the hard route and investing in my business, instead of taking the hard route and doing the work and staying in solitude and follow the path that God wants me on, I'm just going to get a boyfriend and serve him and try to pour into him, and maybe he'll make it so we can be rich. Okay? So that's what I mean by women settling. Okay? The act of having kids in general is not settling. It's the thought that, you know what, I can't do anything else, so I might as well help this nigga. And I might as well have his kids. And I might as well just, attempt to pour into him so he becomes something, so he can make us rich. Right? That's how a lot of women think. Now, when you are a highly ambitious woman in a group of women who do not have the self-esteem, the high self-esteem, they don't have the high confidence, right? You will be a target. When you are someone who is constantly making moves, constantly showing up, and you look good while doing it, you will garner a lot of hate, a lot of jealousy, and a lot of projection. Now, when people put you on a pedestal, right? When people put you on a pedestal that you did not ask to be on, they tend to over-criticize you as well, right? For example, right, y'all already know I have to, give my personal experiences because I'm not just talking out my butt, okay? For example, when I had a large group of girlfriends, right? 8 to 10 girls, we all went to high school together. We had classes with one another. We went to parties together. We promoted parties. We danced. We had a dance group, and people just wanted to be a part of our movement. So we just ended up just attracting friends from a lot of different places. So I ended up having a big group of girls as friends. Now, of course, there was 5 of us were just like, the core group, but then we had other girls that kind of like latched on to our group that wanted to be cool with us. So we just ended up like adopting girls or whatever. So in my case, when I came to a point of my YouTube career where I was starting to attract hair sponsors for the first time, and I was getting these wigs in abundance, my friends put me on a pedestal like I had the resources and I was like the way out, right? So because I tried to be fair to my friends, I tried to evenly distribute the wigs. Like, hey, you want to do a collab with me? You want to come get your hair done for free? I'll give you a wig. Just come with your makeup done and your hair braided. I got you, right? That is me trying to distribute my resources throughout all my friends so everyone can feel loved by me, right? Because I would feel like, damn, if I'm getting like 30 wigs a month, why wouldn't I ask my homegirl to be on my channel, even if she doesn't have an Instagram or she's not popping or whatever? Like, I don't ever want my friends to feel like just because you're not popping, I'm not going to work with you, right? I have all of my friends that I ever associated with is on my channel, okay? All of them. Some of them more than one video, okay? Now, some of my friends, right, were more popular than others and could add to my brand more than others. So those maybe like 1 or 2 friends are the ones that I did the most collaborations with because y'all loved they ass. You know what I'm saying? And why would I not do her hair on my channel if she's getting a lot of views on all of her videos, right? Now, because my friends already see me as this endless giver, right? This person that is just supposed to consider everyone's feelings and take everyone with her and share all my resources and do everything for everybody. People started to get mad at me for not constantly having them in my content rotation. Just because I have the wigs does not mean they are for you. Just because I did your hair for free and gave you free hair 1, 2, 3, 4 times does not mean I have to keep you in my rotation. But just because I have the resources and just because you think I have enough to go around, now you have an entitled feeling. Now when I tell you no, like if you ask me, hey Breezy, can I book an appointment for next week to be on your channel? Mind you, they're not talking about booking an appointment, my energy for free, right? When I tell you no, it doesn't really work like that. I have to invite you on my channel. Now I'm the bad guy, right? Now I'm showing favoritism. Now I'm not treating everyone fairly. Just in my little world, right? In my little world, that is just one way I experienced being misunderstood and being labeled the bad guy just because I didn't want to be an unconditional giver to everyone around me. Now, the sad thing about women is, which I've experienced as well, and I'm gonna name another situation where I was misunderstood for choosing myself, right? Is sometimes when women are mistreated in relationships and when they are abused in relationships, women do not speak out for themselves. They do not speak out to defend themselves. Whose problem is that? Not mine, okay? When women choose to not speak up for themselves and when women choose to not choose themselves and they stay in these toxic dynamics and they don't speak out for whatever reason, whether they are afraid of backlash, whether they are afraid to be called a liar or whatever it is, right? They don't speak out and they end up having resentment for women that actually have the balls to speak out for themselves. So for example, when I was in a relationship with the most toxic nigga on the planet, After that relationship ended, I chose to speak out for myself. Not only because I wanted to express that because I have the right to, but because I didn't want to put on a persona online like my life was perfect. I've always been real on my channel. I've never posed to be another girl. I've never acted like I was another girl. Whatever I thought, whatever I felt, I spoke on my channel. Because I chose to speak out, this mistress of my ex, was telling me that I was lying about being abused. And I'm not, what I'm saying, me and her talked and she did apologize to me. So, I don't want to, I don't want her to catch any strays or whatever, but, so I'm going to stop calling her a mistress. I'm going to stop calling her that. But I will call her, that girl, whatever. So she ended up calling me a liar, that I was lying about being abused. And then she ended up telling me that, that's not very ladylike to speak out for yourself, right? So I asked her, because I've seen her post online about, narcissistic abuse and things like that. It's cool when they do it, it's a problem when I do it, right? So when I asked her, didn't you experience a narcissistic abusive relationship? How are you so quick to call me a liar when you've already been through this before, right? And that's when she ended up saying, a couple hours later, she was like, I'm sorry for calling you a liar. Sometimes my ADHD, affects the way I think and blah, 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 blah. People blame their mental debilitations on them being a shitty human being. And, at least I got an apology. I'm not going to dig too deep on the reason why she apologized, but at least she apologized, okay? So what that interaction taught me was, because I was strong enough to fight for myself, because I was bold enough to tell you guys what's actually going on in my life, and that my life is not just squeaky clean and YouTube and hair all day, she actually was triggered by that. Why are you triggered? Because I'm saying something that happened to me, right? Why are you triggered by that? What that situation taught me was, strong women and, being ambitious is really just a part of it, right? It's really just being a strong woman, right? Strong, confident women that can stand alone specifically, right? And that doesn't mask online and try to present a life that they're not really living, right? Trying to present a relationship that is not really what it looks like behind closed doors. Because I was strong enough to speak out for myself, it triggered her into calling me a liar, knowing good and damn well, this girl don't know me from a can of tuna fish. I don't know her from a can of paint, right? So strong women are constantly misunderstood, and not even misunderstood in a way where it's an accident. We're misunderstood on purpose. We're misunderstood on purpose. Some people purposely misunderstand women's intentions because they are insecure about not having the same strength, not being in the same position, not being able to follow God's plan for them because they don't want to really do the work. Doing the work involves you working on yourself. Doing the work is not hopping into a relationship and pouring into someone else, hoping that they're going to be the key to y'all's success. Doing the work is going within yourself, sacrificing any vices you may have, sacrificing any bad habits, eating right, treating yourself right, doing the hard work so that you can level yourself up, level your frequency up. A lot of people do not have the discipline to really pour into themselves. And when they see that someone else chose themselves, it's like, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? Fighting for yourself. Who do you think you are speaking out for yourself? Who do you think you are? I didn't speak up for myself. What makes you think you can speak up for yourself? But really, in essence, what people want is to be validated. What people want is to be understood, right? So honestly, I feel like when I asked her that question, weren't you in a narcissistic abusive relationship? Don't you know how this feels, right? Because I even acknowledged the fact that she was, that's the moment I felt like she finally was able to muster up the compassion for me. Because all people really want is to be recognized. All people really want is to be validated, you know? Even if a woman is afraid to speak out for herself after going through some type of abuse, does not mean that she doesn't want someone to know about it so they can tell her, girl, it wasn't you, you know, I feel for you. I have compassion for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone wants to feel validated. So once again, after I acknowledged her situation, that's when I felt like she finally mustered up the compassion to give to me. The internalized misogyny in women is rampant, okay? It is rampant, okay? And a lot of women, because they do not want to pour into themselves, because they do not want to stay in solitude, because they want to hop into relationship after relationship after relationship to run from themselves, a lot of them do not want to see women who have the strength to stay in solitude and follow God's plan. They don't want to see it because it's triggering to them. It reminds them of what they're not doing for themselves. It reminds them that they're the one putting up with abuse every other day from their man. It reminds them that they're not able to be the fruitful, ambitious, creative woman that they really want to be because they have to make sure that they don't outshine their boyfriend, right? So because women do not want to pour into themselves, because they don't want to make those sacrifices, they try to bring other women down with them. And I'm not saying that being submissive is a cop-out, right? Because I was very submissive in my relationship. I cooked for this guy. I cooked for him. I made him meals for work. I cleaned up after him. I cleaned up his space in our apartment, his little man cave studio, whatever. You know, I tried to be as spontaneous and sexy and flirtatious as possible. Like, I really tried to be the perfect girlfriend in that relationship. And I was able to be home a lot because I did YouTube from home. You know what I'm saying? So I was really, honestly, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I hate to say this about myself because no one is perfect, but I was damn near like 98% the perfect girlfriend in that relationship. The only problem was I wasn't able to be myself. So I was constantly fighting for my autonomy in that relationship. And that's why me and my ex always bumped heads. I had to fight for the right to dress how I wanted. I had to fight for the right to post what I wanted. I had to fight for the right to be friends with who I wanted to be friends with. I had to fight for literally my autonomy. And I wasn't willing to settle because I was already giving so much. I was already giving so much. Why would I give away my soul? You know what I'm saying? Like, I already let you move into my apartment. I'm already serving you. What more do you want? You want my soul? You want my skin and bones next? You know what I'm saying? So because I wasn't willing to give up my entire soul, we ended up breaking up. Now, back to the submissive part, right? I'm not saying that being submissive is a cop-out. I'm saying that the subconscious thought that, oh, I can't give up my bad habits. I can't give up smoking. I can't give up drinking. I can't give up the need to want to be validated by a man and be in a relationship all the time. I can't give that up because I can't stand to be by myself in solitude. When you give up on pouring into yourself and you say, well, you know what? Maybe I'll just be a submissive woman. Maybe I'll just be that. Maybe that'll be my career path. Maybe I'll just get into a relationship and serve a man and pour into him and give my magic and my aura to him. And hopefully he'll use that to make us rich. always the prayer for women. Maybe if I pour into him, if I love him enough, if I support his business, if I support his endeavors, maybe just maybe just maybe, I can pour my whole aura into him so that he can make us successful and he can give me the life that I really can give myself, but I'm copping out. I would love to be in a relationship where I'm loved for who I am, not how I make the guy look, not how I increase his social status, not how I pour into him or whatever, but I want to be loved for who I am, right? I want to be loved for me. I don't want to be loved for my services. I would love to be in a relationship where we love each other unconditionally. You know what my ex told me to my face? I don't love women unconditionally. That's what he told me to my face. And I stayed, right? But I would love to be in a relationship where I'm loved unconditionally. I'm loved for who I am. And if you don't like me, I pray that a man just leaves me alone. If he don't like who I am inside, if he don't like my personality, if he don't like me, I pray he leaves me alone. Because a lot of men will still be with you, right? They'll still be with you. They'll still benefit from your services and your encouragement and your good energy while being triggered by everything you do, because who you are as a person reminds them of their inadequacies. Ambitious women are constantly misunderstood. You know what people have told me? I can't see you being a mom. Do you even want kids? So because I take my career serious so that I can actually build a foundation and not be a struggling parent, because I'm actually putting an effort in my career and my platform, you just can't see me being a mom. So you being a mother, the qualities associated with being a mother is being loving, caring, patient, compassionate, and nurturing. So you just can't see me being loving, compassionate, nurturing, and patient? You just can't see that for me? But I'm not for you though. I'm not for you, but you can't see me doing that for a child? Ambitious women are purposely misunderstood. Purposely misunderstood. And even if it's by accident, it's a subconscious, it's a response to internalized misogyny. According to the people that have told me that before, which I don't associate with no more, because I decided in my head, in my mind, that if someone says something to me that is a limiting belief, I'm just going to cut them off. Because your opinion about me and what you think I'm capable of and capable of not doing is not my problem. And I used to absorb people's comments all the time back in the day. I used to subconsciously make agreements with the negative, pessimistic things people used to say to me. And I told myself, if I keep people around me that see me in a certain light, I'm going to inevitably box myself in, and I can't do that to myself. I'm young, wild, and free. I can do whatever I want. No one's opinion of me is going to box me in. So whoever it was, I know, y'all don't know, whoever it was that told me that they can't see me being a mom, she's not in my life. Hey CJ, thank you for the super chat. No need to answer, but of course I'm going to answer. But would you want to be a mom someday? Just a question. I would love to be a mom one day. I can definitely see myself being a mom one day. But I can't see myself being a mom in a toxic situation or in an environment that's not conducive for a smooth upbringing of a child. Like, I'm not going to have a kid in chaos. I'm not going to have a kid and I don't have the necessary finances to secure that child having a beautiful, like, super smooth life. And I know we're always going to go through things, but I'm not going to have a kid in a broken home environment. I'm not going to have a kid out of wedlock. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And, you know, as traumatized as I am from relationships, you know, I'm not closed off. I'm not, you know, bitter about, you know, relationships and men and things like that. Yes, I was highly unattracted to men for a few months of my life. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not totally turned off, and I still have an open heart, right? So I'm choosing to not have a baby in chaos. Like, I'm just not. And because most people have babies in chaos, right? That's why you see all these single mothers and the parents that hate each other's guts, right? You have all these broken homes because there was no foundation built at all. There was no commitment. There was no foundation built. And for me, listen, the way I am, I'm going to be the type of mom that makes all my money from home so I can raise my kids, right? I'm going to raise my kids until I just can't no more. Like, okay, go off to school. Just go to school. I know y'all tired of seeing my face. Like, that's how long I want my kids to be at home. You know, I need a mansion. Not a mansion, but I need a nice house. You know what I'm saying? I need a nice house. I need like an education room for my kids. You know, like I'm gonna need some things. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna say that I'm just waiting to be this ultra millionaire to have kids, but I'm saying that if I don't at least have a ring, why would I have a kid? So because I'm not following the masses, right? And I'm not doing what 80% of women are doing, which is trying to make their boyfriend become a man by having a baby and then getting highly disappointed when they find out that he was never that. Just because I'm not following in that path, people think that I'm not nurturing, I'm not loving, I'm not patient, and I'm not compassionate for kids. No, I'm just not dumb. I'm just not dumb. I'm just not desperate. You know what I'm saying? I literally follow God's time. I literally trust God's time. You know what? I'm not going to say this. I will say this, whatever. When I think about my life and I think when do I think I'm going to get married? When do I think I'm going to have kids? Honestly, and y'all, this may be true or not. This may be a self-fulfilling prophecy, or this may be just me knowing myself. I don't know what it is. But I feel like I'm going to get married and have kids in my 40s. I don't know why. I feel like I'm going to have kids and get married in my 40s. Do I think that I'm, definitely going to have kids? I don't know. Do I think that I'm definitely going to get married? I don't know. But that's just what I think. You know what I'm saying? That's like, that's just what I think, I never ever thought in my head, oh, I'm going to get married and have a kid in my 20s. And if I don't, I'm a failure. I hit the wall. I just never thought about myself like that. I just never did. Now, of course, that comes with responsibility and sacrifices. I'm going to have to make sure that I'm eating right. I'm going to have to make sure that I'm taking care of my womb. You know what I'm saying? I can't just be, eating Wendy's 4-for-4s and still expect to have kids in my 40s. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to have to really take care of my body. And that's just a sacrifice that I'm going to have to make. And it's not really even a sacrifice because y'all know I have a knowledge of eating healthy regardless. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. And, strong women that are not afraid to stand in their solitude, women that are not afraid to take the path less traveled are constantly misunderstood. constantly misunderstood. In my last relationship, whenever me and my ex would have a disagreement, I would try to talk through it, right? I'm not the type of girl, and maybe this is my problem, because maybe guys actually like crazy girls and I'm just not crazy enough or something. I don't know. But every time we would have a disagreement, like I would always like have this demeanor. Like how do you, like that, this is always my demeanor, right? Because I already know I'm already intimidating. Like I've been intimidating my whole life. So I definitely don't want to intimidate my man. You know what I'm saying? And so I try to be as, logical and as, on topic as possible, so I don't lead us into no craziness, right? When I tell you guys, even that was the wrong thing to do. I never put my hands on my boyfriend. I never mushed him. I never slapped him. I never punched him. Never. I never scratched him. Never. One time, right? I was sitting down. We were having a disagreement. Mind you, I was literally sitting down, and he was up, doing what he do best, right? And I'm like, why are you yelling? Like, sit down. Like, why are you, you know what I'm saying? And he tries to tell me that I look manly and I look masculine, right? By the way that I'm sitting. Y'all, I cannot help my demeanor. I can't help my demeanor. If me sitting like this intimidates you and makes you think that you're in court, or makes you think that your mom is reprimanding you, I don't know where those fears are coming from. You know what I'm saying? I'm just thinking that I'm trying to get to a conclusion, right? And I'm not trying to abuse you. You know what I'm saying? But me sitting like this, it literally used to intimidate my ex. And he literally said verbatim, see, look at the way you're sitting. You look like a nigga. You look like a nigga. You look like you about to do something. I was like, a bitch can't do nothing. A bitch can't do nothing. I can't do nothing. But imagine, right? Imagine if I was the type of girl to be throwing shit, to be slapping him. Imagine if that was me, right? I couldn't do nothing right in that relationship. Nothing. I couldn't do nothing right. Everything I did intimidated him. Everything I did scared him. Everything I did reminded me of his mama. Everything I did reminded him that he was in court. Everything I did intimidated and scared him. So even when I thought that I was being calm and I was being, as feminine as I could and not trying to violate his space and violate his body, it still wasn't right. Right? So it didn't matter what I did, because I intimidated him and because he saw me as whatever I reminded him of. It doesn't matter what I did. I always intimidated him and I always made him super defensive, right? Hey CJ, thank you again for the super chat. Get some Gatorade ice to cool off real quick. Thank you. Need that. Needed that real bad. So, ambitious women, right? Ambitious women are normally strong women, right? Because to even be ambitious, you have to have a high level of emotional intelligence. Because if you let everything get to you, right, you wouldn't be able to run a consistent anything, let alone a consistently growing business, right? So the qualities of ambitious women tend to be stoic sometimes, right? The venting is back in session, okay? Ambitious women tend to be stoic sometimes. Ambitious women can, and I'm not tend to be, but can be. Really, I'm just describing myself and girls that I know who are ambitious that also share these qualities. So, ambitious women sometimes are very stoic. Sometimes ambitious women have a very low tolerance for BS, right? They don't go through the same toxic situation for too long. Like, they'll give it a chance because they're still women, right? They'll give it a chance, but they'll let it go eventually, right? Ambitious women also have the tendency of talking very monotone, in my opinion. I have a friend, she's a Capricorn. She is ambitious, and she tends to be like, her voice is just always like this. Like, like her voice is always monotone, right? So sometimes, like, when you're trying, like, if you're trying to trigger someone like that, or you're trying to bug someone like that, and it seems like they're emotionally like a rock and they can't be moved, it almost makes you want to like antagonize them even more to get a reaction out of them. And it's like, damn, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like sometimes we just catch strays from people that literally just want a reaction out of us. It's like they want us to be this bad person that they wish we were. They want us to be this abusive, girl that they want us to be in their mind. But it's just like, when you can't get that out of someone, it just comes out of you instead, right? So sometimes, yeah, like ambitious women who have those qualities of being very stoic, of being very like emotionally intelligent, like they actually know how to communicate with their words. It's like everything gets used against them because people are looking for a reaction. Another thing. I remember one thing my ex said that really stuck out at me because it made me think, well, we're not ever gonna grow, right? Because every time I'm literally right about a situation, it's never like, okay, I see where you're coming from. Like, okay, you know what I'm saying? All right, like, shut the fuck, I see where you're coming from. It was never like, even like an agreement like that. Instead of him just acknowledging that, yes, I have a point, and yes, I may be right in this situation. And I'm not saying I was always right, but the times where I was right, we could at least come together and be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I see where you're coming. Let me just think, whatever. It was never that. It was never an acknowledgement that I was right. It was always, damn, I can never win with you. You always win. What? You think this is like a football game or something? You think this is like a soccer game? Like, what do you mean I always win? I don't want to win this way. Like, what do you mean win? I don't see it as me winning. I'm seeing it as me calling out something that is wrong in the relationship or wrong with your behavior that I want you to change so that we can work. What do you mean you always win? Why is it a game in your head? Why is it a you against me? If this is a game and if I always win, that means we're obviously on opposite teams, right? Just because a woman is right does not mean she's trying to get a one-up on you. It doesn't mean she's trying to win the game. It just means she's right. I'm sorry. Do you want me to not? Do you want me to not clock things? Do you not want me? Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I clocked it. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. But because when women are a lot more logical and they're like highly solution based and they just want to talk about it, you know, this is where I was wrong, this is where you're wrong, you know, you didn't take accountability, okay, I'm sorry for this. And like when women are very logical and solution based, it's like we're so intimidating. We're so intimidating. And it's like, I thought the point of relationships was for the relationship to actually work. Are we supposed to not work? Is that how it's supposed to be? We're supposed to not make it work. We're just supposed to argue all day. And I'm supposed to lose the arguments. And then what? You know, like, y'all, it's just confusing, okay? Another thing, right? Another quality of ambitious women that is purposely misunderstood. A lot of ambitious women got money. We just got money. We stay with a job. We stay getting money. We're hustlers, right? Ambitious women always got some damn money. Now, in my last relationship, after experiencing ample examples of abuse, finally I snapped on my ex, and when he left my apartment or something like that, like he stormed out, and I ended up throwing some of his clothes over the balcony, right? Super toxic, I know. I shouldn't have done that, right? So I threw some of his clothes over the balcony, right? And some of the clothes I could not get back because some of them were on top of trees, you know what I'm saying? Some of them were on top of the roof of our apartment building. Some of them I could not retrieve, right? So after that, I felt so bad. I was like, oh my God, this is not good. I was like, I can't believe I did that to his property. I'm like, I have to replace this stuff. So I went on, you know, I went online, and I probably threw away probably like 10 of his shirts that he couldn't get back, right? I went online and I ended up buying him like, it was like 20 shirts. It was like 15, 20 shirts. I bought him pants. I bought him like a whole bunch of stuff because I felt so bad. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, sometimes like when you have pieces of clothing that you really like that it's just not replaceable, you know? I didn't actually replace his stuff. I just bought new stuff and hoped that he was going to forgive me. You know what I'm saying? So some stuff, you know, he could have got from his mom or could have got as a gift. You know, I understand now not everything is replaceable, right? So I bought him a whole box full of clothes because I was just like, that was my apology, right? What I didn't know, what I'm realizing as I get older, is men really don't like gifts as apologies because it makes them feel small. It like makes them feel like you're treating them like the woman, right? Especially if he don't really got no money like that. Now, if the guy has money, yes, you know, he likes gifts from women because, you know, that's like reciprocal energy or whatever. But when a guy really doesn't have anything to give and you're giving him these big extravagant gifts, it almost like it puts pressure on him. And me giving that big box of clothes to my ex made him feel almost like emasculated, right? Keep following me here. Keep following me here. So like probably like a week after I gave him that big box of clothes as an apology, you know what he told me that was? What he considered that to be? Guess. And yes, he thought it was a manipulation tactic. Guess what he thought it was? Guess what he thought I was doing? He thought I was love bombing him for replacing clothes that I felt bad about damaging. He thought I was love bombing him. So you mean to tell me that if I destroy your property and I'm trying to show you that I'm sorry for doing that to the point where I buy you 3 times the amount of clothes, I'm love bombing? Okay. CJ said love bombing. Is love bombing bad if you're in a relationship? See, showing someone affection and gifting people and stuff like that, that's not necessarily love bombing, right? The act of love bombing is determined by the intention. Love bombing is supposed to be the act of showing someone affection or romance with the intent of some type of selfish gain from that person. It basically has a selfish undertone, right? What would I have wanted from him? Like, what could I be using my ex for? Like, how could me replacing his clothes as an apology be love bombing? Like, what could I use you for? What? Like, I let you move into my apartment after months of me really not even wanting him to move in, but he just kept on saying, "Oh, I hate where I live," and complaining about his life. So after 2 months, I finally broke and I finally let him move in with me, right? What could I use you for? I was already paying my own rent. I'm not gonna use you for dingling, because my sex drive is not even on that level. Like, yes, I enjoy that, but I'm not gonna use you for that. You know what I'm saying? So how could that be love bombing? What could I use you for? What do you think what do you think is my underlying intention for replacing the clothes that I destroyed? Right? So once again, ambitious women are purposely misunderstood. All because my huge box of clothes made him feel emasculated, because he probably thought that he couldn't give me a gift like that, or he couldn't, like when he punched my windshield and shattered it, he couldn't pay for it for like 6 months, and I had to get my brother to pay for it. Just because you can't replace what you've broken of mine that quick and that good, I made you feel emasculated. Now I'm trying to manipulate you. My bad. I should have never bought shit. My bad. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I replaced the stuff. I should have never done that. I should have never done that. Right? So, once again, ambitious women, we got money. A lot of us got money. But us having money makes men feel emasculated, right? And when men feel emasculated, trust me, they will let a woman know, "Oh, you're masculine, you're this, you're aggressive, you're that, you always win." Baby, win what? I can't win nothing with you. Win what? We're both miserable. Win what? So that is another example. If y'all are feeling me, let me know. If you don't agree, let me know too, because I want to know what y'all are thinking. Thank you, CJ. You see, CJ be having my back. He knows I be getting my own blood pressure up, okay? But, to be honest though with you guys, this is very therapeutic for me. And it just feels good that I can talk about this, or that I even have the courage to talk about this. A lot of people don't like talking about their personal life online, but because I have just so much self-awareness, like I'm always able to connect my stories to some type of realization or some type of lesson in some type of way, right? It's almost like I look at things that happen to me in my life as something outside of me. It's like a lesson that I'm looking at, or like a book that I'm reading, and I don't necessarily attach it to myself. Like, I don't live in those moments. So yeah, even though, when I tell stories, I probably appear to get worked up or whatever. And I guess I probably am getting worked up, but honestly, like, it's really never that deep, honestly. Like, I'm in a good mood this whole time. Don't get it twisted. I'm always in a good mood. So in my opinion, right, what women have to do, women who are ambitious, women who tend to be very logical, right? Women who tend to intimidate men and women. What we tend to do at some points in our lives, not all women, but I've experienced this and I've known women that have done this. In order to try to get away from that energy, from the independent energy, from the stoic energy, from the quote unquote masculine energy, right? In order for us to actually feel like in order for us to be actually treated like soft women, a lot of ambitious women have to cosplay extra feminine. We have to cosplay extra feminine because we feel like, or some women feel like they cannot be loved without playing this role. A lot of ambitious women feel like they can't be loved unless they are playing the role of honestly a broke, submissive woman who is like a damsel in distress, right? That's why when you watch these channels online of these, gurus, these female gurus or whatever that teach women how to attract, high value men or rich men and things like that, the advice is always hide your finances. We're not allowed to show our power because men don't like it. They just don't like it. It makes men feel emasculated. So when they teach women how to attract rich men, how to get a man with money, how to get a man with money to propose to you, stuff like that. There's channels like that all over YouTube. One of the main things, like the top main rules, is hide how much money you make. Do not let that man know how much money you make. Also, hide how much money you make by not wearing no designer clothes, no jewelry, right? I was just watching a live the other day and this lady was going live teaching women basically how to get in the mindset and how to present yourself to attract a rich man. And one of her comments in her live was like, oh, I met up with this rich man and we were on a date and he never gave me no money and we ended up not talking, and I think it's because I was dressed too nice when I was around him. And basically the lady was like, yeah, she was like, don't wear no designer when you go on these dates. Even if the man is super rich, don't wear no designer, don't wear no jewelry, don't bring no designer handbags, because a man is going to want to help you if he thinks that you're destitute. Like you have to be like just good looking enough, but you can't look like too much or you're going to make him feel emasculated, right? So just by that alone, it's like, damn, we can't even be ourselves. We can't even do what we really want to do because we're too busy making people feel emasculated and making people feel inferior and making people feel insecure. Because we're already supposed to be at the bottom. Women are already supposed to be inferior. So the fact that some of us have the nerve to be powerful and have the nerve to walk in our light, it makes a lot of people not like us. It makes a lot of people feel intimidated, and it makes a lot of men feel emasculated. So once again, a lot of women have to cosplay like they're broke. They have to cosplay like they're ultra feminine. And when I say ultra feminine, I don't even mean the actual definition of the word. I mean like childish. Women have to cosplay like they're childish. Like, I don't know, daddy. I think I need some help. Like that's how we have to act. And it's sad. It's sad that we have to be that way just to attract respect. Just to attract people that love us for us, we have to cosplay like a female child. And it's just not right. It's just not right. It's not right, right? And then it even shows in the statistics of marriages, like women with careers, y'all be making me laugh, I swear. No, I'm not doing that again. I'm not doing it again. But but yeah, like we can't even be ourselves, and it's so sad. Like, what the heck? And it's crazy because, like, in my last relationship, right, I was even able to support my partner because I had a steady income flow. I was able to pour into my partner because I was so happy and grateful of my own life. I had a natural overflowing cup. So I was able to support him in his endeavors. I was able to hold space for him because I was who I was. But simultaneously, who I was intimidated my ex. So it's like he loved me, he was attracted to me for who I was, but once we were actually in the relationship, he tried to break me down. So certain things that he would say to me in arguments, right? Mind you, like I told y'all before, when I get into a debate with someone, I try to stay, just like on key with the facts so we don't get off topic or whatever. We don't get personal, or we don't start throwing low blows and stuff like that, right? He would say stuff like, "Oh, I don't need you. I can have another you. I can get another you any day." He would just say things to try to break my spirit. He would just completely diverge from the actual topic at hand and take jabs at my self-esteem. And I still stayed, right? But yeah, so the same thing that he was attracted to in me is the same thing that actually triggered him. So he loved that I was confident when we met. He loved that I was expressive when we met. He loved that I was intelligent when we met, right? But when I was too smart, when I was clocking his toxic behavior, right? When I was too on point with everything, he didn't like that shit. You know, rightfully so, because no one really likes to be corrected. But why wouldn't you at least want to acknowledge that you spazzing out is not healthy? Like, why wouldn't you want to fix toxic traits that are clearly like damaging the relationship? Like, why wouldn't you want to fix that? Why wouldn't you want to be aware of that? You know what I'm saying? Ooh, child. Okay, so CJ said, it seems your understanding of being the person to support the relationship for both you and him. How long will you allow that to last, or be the one to be the main supporter? Right. Now, I'm not saying that he never supported me, right? But it was to an extent. He would support me, but in so many ways, he basically let me know that he didn't want me to be this ambitious girl that wanted to be this business tycoon. And, he didn't want to support that side of me. It just made him feel like he was like being overshadowed, And y'all, literally, like when I tell you I was hella solution based in this relationship, I literally told him, well, you know what? We don't have to post each other no more. We don't have to do TikToks together no more. We don't have to do dance videos no more. We don't have to brand ourselves together, because if you feel like I'm overshadowing you, we can just leave the social media alone. I don't want you to feel like I'm overshadowing you, or that, my light is too bright. And, I don't want you to feel like that around me. I don't want you to feel like that. So let's just block each other from online, because clearly the things I post clearly trigger you. The things who I am clearly triggers you online. So let's just block each other, right? Tell me why after I said that, thinking that that was like a perfectly logical solution, he was like, I dare you to block me. I was like, so this nigga, he don't want no solutions. He just wants to be triggered. He wants to continue to watch me and be triggered. Why do you want to, like, do you like abusing yourself? Do you like to be miserable? Do you like to be jealous of me? Do you like that? Okay, not even knowing him, I think he may have been intimidated by you, intimidated by you, maybe knowing more and overall having your stuff together for yourself in comparison to him and where he was. Maybe he didn't feel like he was doing enough and it came out in a form of aggression. Of course, that's what it was. That's what it was. And it was sad because I really did try to separate myself from him. Like, we don't have to brand ourselves together, And I know that he wanted to be a star in his own right? He's a singer, he's a performer, he's a writer, he's an artist in almost every way. He can do almost every form of art, right? Including music and rapping and all type of stuff. I don't want you to feel like you can't come out strong as an artist because your girlfriend is already taking all the spotlight. I don't want you to feel like that, right? So my solution was, let's just stop posting each other. And because he's obviously triggered from my Instagram every other day, let's just block each other. And he literally said, I dare you to block me. I was like, wow. At that point, he should probably get to a place in his life where he is comfortable both spiritually, mentally, and financially. Yes. I hope that happens for him. I really do. Or, or the alternative solution is just get with a girl that absolutely does not overshadow you in no type of way. Like, make sure she's broke, make sure she's unambitious, make sure she has low self-esteem, make sure that she's already decided in her mind that she wasn't going to follow God's purpose and that she was just going to settle for being someone's girlfriend. That'll work for him too, because some women, there are a lot of women that are like that. And I'm not saying that's a problem. I'm just saying that that's what happens a lot. So, be with a girl that doesn't push you, that doesn't inspire you, that doesn't, trigger you to evolve. Be with a girl that makes you feel totally comfortable, where you can just, sit in your vices and you can, sit in the place you are in life and you don't have to feel guilty at all. Because she's not doing anything more than you. You know what I'm saying? She's doing even less than you. So in that case, that woman will make him feel like a man. And she'll keep up that hierarchy. You know what I'm saying? But me, on the other hand, I'm naturally just energetic. I'm naturally creative. I'm naturally ambitious. So to someone who feels inadequate, even though in my eyes he wasn't inadequate, he had a steady job. He was never late on his half of the bills. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was never inadequate in my eyes. I loved who he was. I was perfectly fine with him being in the same position for the rest of our lives if it called for that. But because I made him so insecure and I made him just feel so emasculated, it just didn't work out. Okay, he may not like it, but it seems like the responsible and healthy thing to do before getting into a relationship. Yeah. He tried to act like he was like some type of like healed, holy man before we got together, right? So he used to, talk all this assalamu alaikum bullshit, right? And tell me how he was Muslim and all this stuff like that. So I'm already thinking he's religious, right? Then he's like, you know, I was celibate for 3 months before we met, and I was like really trying to stay away from women. And I was like, okay, you know, I'm like, okay, like, I love me, you know, pure man or whatever. So, you know, 3 months is really not that long, anyways. But I'm just like, you know, probably for him, it's probably long. So, you know, like, I can dig that. Tell me why. Like months after that, right? In the relationship, like the more people talk, the more truth comes out, right? He would talk about that phase where he was celibate, right? Come to find out, the shit wasn't even 3 months. The shit was like 3 weeks. I'm like, this nigga told me he was celibate for 3 months as if he was holding out on sex, you know what I'm saying, to go on this spiritual journey. No, nigga, you just stopped talking to your last situationship, and 3 weeks later, we just happened to meet. Like, I mean, he lied about everything, right? And then even with the Muslim thing. And here's the thing. I'm not judging people who are religious, right? Even though there are a clear set of rules for religion, even though there are a clear set of rules for religion, I still don't judge people who don't follow the rules, right? Because I know that we are all imperfect beings. If you are a judgmental person, and if you like to criticize and judge other people, that's when you get eyes looking at you to see how righteous you really are. So just because he wasn't, you know, just because he was a drinking, smoking, effing, drug, pill popping Muslim, doesn't mean I was going to judge him for that. But the fact that he was so judgmental to other people made me clock his shit, right? So I'm like, okay. So I started asking questions one day. And I'm like, you know, when you first got into the religion, you know, what did you have to sacrifice? Because I really want to know, like, did you ever sacrifice shit in your life? He goes, no, I never stopped. I never stopped drinking. I never stopped smoking. I never stopped having sex. Like, that was just like, you know, like he was basically saying that he was in college. So he was initiated by himself or whatever into the religion when he was in college. But, you know, being in that environment, that simulation, it's very hard to be holy in college when you're, you know, a guy that, you know, women are attracted to. It's like, you're going to take everything that comes to you. So he basically told me he ain't never sacrificed a damn thing to be a Muslim. You ain't did shit. All you did was walk around and say, Assalamu alaikum. So you ain't never fasted. You ain't never, like, fasted from sex. You ain't never withheld sex to nothing. You ain't never stopped drinking. You ain't never sacrificed nothing. You ain't did nothing but Assalamu alaikum your ass off. So the moment he told me that, I'm like, I know. Gotta cool down. I know. Once I realized that, I'm like, oh, you're cosplaying as a religious man. That's not really you. That's not really you. Amande said, girl, it was fake as hell. That wasn't really you. You just wanted the title. You just wanted the status. You just wanted the community. You didn't really want to be close to Allah. You didn't really want that. And I got something else to tell y'all, right? So the first time I ever did Ramadan was with him, right? I've heard of Ramadan. I've had other friends, female friends who were Muslim, and I watched them do it, but I never participated myself, right? First time I ever did Ramadan was like 2020, and it was with him. And I'm so excited because, y'all, the way I am, I'm really like a little kid at heart. I'm probably going to be a little kid when I'm 85 years old. I really just like to create, and I'm not really like a... Now, I do have sexual urges, obviously, but my sex drive is not up there with like other people. Like, in the perfect relationship to me is if we can just like have sex like twice a week. Is that wrong? Is that like, is that abnormal? Like, let me know, because that's like my sex drive. I am so satisfied. I'm completely satisfied having sex like twice a week, right? But my ex's sex drive was like twice a day type shit. So we used to always kind of like it was hard for us to have perfect, that perfect longing for each other and that want for each other, because he would want me at times. I just didn't want him. And, I just couldn't keep up with his sex drive, right? And I just used to feel inadequate because of that or whatever. So, when Ramadan came, I'm like, thank God, we can finally get close to God. Finally, we can finally, get on a diet, because once you get into a relationship, a bitch gain 20 pounds, so I'm like, finally I can get back to my holy self. I can get back to my freaking righteous self. So I'm like, for the whole month of April, we're gonna fast. I'm gonna try to get back on my diet. I'm thinking about things I'm gonna sacrifice too. I'm like, I definitely have to stop drinking, because with him I was drinking every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay. I didn't even smoke before I got with him, but I'm like, maybe I can cut off smoking a little bit too. So I'm like, I'm literally excited to get back to a righteous lifestyle, because when I live by myself, it's like, I'm not gonna say that I live a righteous lifestyle, but I live pretty healthy. When I'm in relationships, it's like I get fat. Like when I was with him, not all relationships, but when I was with him, I was gaining weight. I was an alcoholic, damn near. I was a pothead, and I was having sex like so often, right? So I'm like, finally, we can take a break from the worldly shit, right? So about a week into Ramadan, we're doing good with the intermittent fasting, We're doing good with that, but we're still drinking, and we're still smoking, and we're still having sex, right? So I'm like, by week 2, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to not drink. So, cause I want this month to be used to actually get closer to God, because I want my blessings. Like, I don't know about you, but nigga, I want my blessings. So the second week I tried to stop drinking. So we both kind of stopped drinking the second week, right? By the third week, I'm like, bruh, I'm not really connecting the way I want to. I want to really sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really want to like dedicate this month to getting close to God. So I'm like, I'm kind of scared. I'm like, I'm about to ask him, can we stop having sex, Lord Jesus? So, because I don't know how he's going to respond, right? So one day we're in the kitchen, and I'm like, hey, I was like, I did some research. I tried to blame it on Google, y'all. I was like, I did some research, and I seen, what people do for Ramadan and how we're supposed to do it. And a lot of people say that we're not supposed to have sex during Ramadan. So, I feel like, we could be challenging ourselves, and we could be doing more. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're in this together. Like, we're a team. So obviously, like, we can be each other's support system. And, I feel like we should just stop having sex for the rest of the month, so we can really connect with God. You know what I'm saying? He gets mad. Mind you, he gets mad, but he's trying to contain it, right? So instead of it coming out as just pure anger, he starts just saying stuff, like saying weird stuff. Like, oh, I don't care what the internet says. This is my journey with Allah, and me and Allah have a relationship, and he understands my heart and all this bullshit, right? And I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking in my head, okay, this is your journey. So I'm like, well, this is my body. This is my body. So I'm like, well, since it's your journey, and this is where you're at in your life, you know what I'm saying? I am in a place where I can actually let that go. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, well, maybe we should just, I don't know, like, I'm going to have to just keep my body to myself, because this is my journey too. You know what I'm saying? And he's like saying how, oh, you know, you can't judge the way I do Ramadan, and it's my journey, it's my relationship with Allah. Like literally acting like my body don't belong to me. Like, so that's when I was like, well, maybe we can go on separate journeys. Because I don't want to have sex for the rest of the month. You know what I'm saying? And so he's like, you know, I respect that. I respect that. Like, he tries to pretend like he respects it, right? I told you he was trying to contain his anger. He's like, I respect that. I respect you, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, cool. I'm thinking in my head, whoo, thank God. That was kind of hard, but so that same night, we're in the bed, we're going to sleep, and he tries to have sex with me again. Do y'all know I sat there and I cried in the dark? I sat there and I cried in the dark. Now, mind you, times where he tried to initiate with me and I didn't feel like doing it. I just felt like just laying in bed with my partner and just having that type of intimacy without intercourse. You know, I've cried multiple times in the bed without him seeing, because, you know, the lights will be dark. It will almost be pitch black. And I've cried multiple times. But yeah, so that night in particular, I was crying and he was still trying to go down on me and stuff. And I just had tears running down my eyes. I couldn't even believe that he was disrespecting me like this. And I couldn't believe that he was literally crossing that boundary that we just both agreed on. And, you know, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I feel like I said something about it. And he was like, well, let's just do it one more time. And I was like, okay. So we did it. I put in full effort. You know what I'm saying? Since it's the last time we're gonna have sex in 2 weeks, I made sure I gave him a nice performance. And after that, he finally let me have my body for 2 weeks. And, you know, it was just like that whole experience, honestly, like, I learned so much about dignity and about self-respect and about the right to my autonomy. You know what I'm saying? I learned so much. I learned that it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. So anyways, you know, going back to, you know, why I even brought up that story, you know, he was cosplaying like a religious man, you know, pretending like he was a holy man, like he was a righteous man, like he was an intentional man, and he only knew how to act like one. He only knew how to mask like one, you know? And I mean, a lot of people do that, you know? A lot of people really don't want to do the work. They don't want to do what it takes. They don't want to sacrifice any vices. They don't want to sacrifice bad habits. They don't want to sacrifice their friends. They don't want to sacrifice the comfortability of being in a relationship in order to really focus on themselves. A lot of people don't want to do it. I mean, they want to do it. It's just that they're not strong enough to do it. So a lot of people will pretend like that's them, right? They'll pretend like they're some type of disciplined, you know, religious person and, you know, whatever, but it really don't be them. It really don't be them. And that's why, like, you know, even though I have a different opinion, I'm a little bit torn about this, but that's why it's so hard to vet people, because people will literally put on a whole mask and pretend to be a certain way when it's not really them. But you know, in the name of accountability, obviously there were signs that he wasn't who he said he was, and I could have left any of those times, but I chose not to. So even though there's a million things I can say about him, there's also things I could say about myself too. I was so codependent and I was so desperate. I was so desperate for a man. I was so desperate for a relationship that I was willing to do anything to keep us together. I was willing to ignore the anger issues. I was willing to ignore him going from 0 to 100 every other week. I was willing to ignore the low blows. I was willing to ignore all of that stuff to keep the relationship. I was willing to put myself in uncomfortable positions, being intimate or having sex with him at times where I just didn't feel like it, or I just wasn't in the mood. But in order to keep my relationship, I had to perform. And I'm so grateful, honestly, that I'm free now, because I don't have to perform to please anyone. Now I can fully immerse myself in my goals, and I can fully immerse myself in God's plan for me. So yeah. And then, like, even in a situation like this, like, even after leaving that relationship, even after having proof of abuse, even after my story never changing from day one, there's still people in my life, well, not in my life anymore, but there still has been people that try to paint me out like I was the problematic one because I didn't stay, or I didn't really love him for real because I didn't stay and get abused. Like if I was to stay and be abused, that would prove that I had love for him, or that I loved him as much as he loved me. Like, there was still a guy in my life that tried to, and he was triggered too. It wasn't because he actually felt like this. He tried to weaponize it. But basically, like, one day I went on an Instagram rant or whatever, and he told me, don't post stuff like that because I'm damaging my brand. I said, okay, I appreciate you. I thank you for correcting me or whatever. Then, like, another situation, I was caught at his house. I didn't volunteer to do this. I didn't volunteer to be in the situation. But I was at his house when his ex was going crazy on him. And basically, me and his friends made them sit down because we tried to be mediators for them. And one of my constructive criticisms for him was to watch how he talked to her. And because he felt like I wasn't on his side, he was basically trying to weaponize the whole saying girl's girl. And he was like, oh, you're just a girl's girl. You're just a girl's girl, right? Trying to completely deflect that he was talking to her crazy and being disrespectful and being controlling and psycho. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you're just a girl's girl and blah, blah, blah. You're just taking her side or whatever. And then he tried to weaponize me and my ex's breakup or whatever. And he tried to tell me, I believe your ex. And basically tried to make it seem like I was the problem. And I called his bluff in that moment. I kept my cool because I knew not to take it personal, right? I called his bluff and I said, so why do you agree with him? I said, what do you agree with? And he was like, he literally said, he was like, I don't know, bro. I can just tell. And I was like, so you don't have a reason? I said, okay. I said, moving on. Moving on. So, yeah. So basically, just because, like, literally because I gave him constructive criticism to try to help him and his girl's relationship, which I shouldn't have even done, right? Shouldn't have even done that. He tried to weaponize that against me, and he tried to hurt me by basically saying that it was my fault we broke up, and he believes my ex, whatever he even believed. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know what was even said. What do you even believe? What is your opinion? Do you even have an opinion? But yeah. So take another sip before you get that knot in your throat. I know that situation, y'all. The fact that I even experienced fighting for my freaking life in a relationship, it does get me choked up because I can't even believe that I went through that. But at the end of the day, I had to go through that. to know that I will never fight for my autonomy in a relationship ever again. I will never fight for my life in a relationship ever again. And I've already had the relationship experience. You know, I've lived with two guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've cosplayed the whole relationship shit. Like, I've been there, done that. You know what I'm saying? And now I know that, okay, now that I know that I can live with a nigga and I can be domesticated and I can be submissive and I can do all these things, now I know, you know, more of my capabilities and more of my value, and I will never ever 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 subject myself to a situation where I cannot be myself, I cannot be loved for who I am ever again. So, you know, even though it's hurtful and it angers me, um I appreciate those experiences, you know. I appreciate them. I really do, because I needed them to be who I am today. I needed them for the self-respect that I have today and the dignity that I have today. I will never ever let someone disrespect me ever again. Ever again. Um I'm not the type of person who will just cut you off and, you know, at the first sign of disrespect, I mean, I will, but I will always be open to an apology. I will always, you know, leave my heart open. And I always have, like, you know, a revolving door for people. Like, I always leave the door open for people to come to me and, you know, possibly apologize or take accountability or whatever. But when it comes to just willingly being around people that never apologize, that have no self-awareness, and that don't take accountability for nothing, I have no space for it. I have no space for it anymore. None. Okay, so being that you wanted a relationship, were you afraid of not finding another relationship soon enough as to why you stuck around? Yes, I was in a very broken place at that time. But I thought that I was healed. But the reason why I say I was broken is because I was desperate. Just because I was a good girlfriend doesn't mean I wasn't desperate. You know what I'm saying? So I left a relationship like in 2019 or 2020 or whatever, and we broke up, and I was so distraught from that. I was so hurt. And I was crying every day. You know, I went from seeing a guy every single day for a year and a half to us literally not seeing each other and not speaking at all, like overnight type stuff. Because that seems to be how my relationships and my friendships end. I don't really go back and forth like with people once we fall out. Like, there's not like a place of limbo. Once me and someone fall out, I usually end up never seeing them again. And I don't know necessarily why that is. I don't know if it's me, or I don't know if it's people's reaction to me, or both, or whatever, but that's just like a pattern that I realized in my life, right? Like, I'm not the type of person who gets like who will get like beat up in a relationship and then I'll just keep on getting beat up like multiple times. Like, that's just not my personality. Like, normally, like, I leave and then we just go cold turkey. And when you go cold turkey like that, it's very hurtful, right? Sometimes I wish I could be the type of person who has relationships where me and the guy are just going back and forth, even if it's toxic, for like months and years and years. Like, sometimes I wish I can have that, but it don't work out like that. So thank you Martavius, I appreciate you. But yeah, I was broken, I was lonely, and the whole time I was in my apartment living alone trying to manifest a new man. So I was writing in my journal, and I'm like, you know, I am a beautiful wife, I have a beautiful husband, we are this. And I used to like literally write pages and pages trying to manifest a new man. So I went through my little trial and errors with dating that year, and once I found him, And we known each other in high school. So it was like a very nostalgic feeling. It was very familiar. You know, it felt like a very safe, soft landing spot for the both of us. And we were just infatuated with each other. And once I was seemingly having a lot of other divine confirmations, like angel numbers or random sayings, and like a picture I took like that I never even noticed. I would look, what does that say? You're in the right space. Like, what? You're in the right place. Like, what is that? Like, certain things would just happen where I thought that I was really supposed to be there. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, you know, whatever happens to us, it doesn't even matter, because I know that we're supposed to be together, because I'm having all these divine confirmations and we have such a strong connection that I have to make this work, you know? So yeah, I was like very, very desperate for that relationship. I really was. I can't even lie. I thought that it was like a divine thing, but I didn't realize that it was me feeling inferior. It was more of a me feeling empty, or me not feeling full just by being alone, you know, and I just felt like I needed him. And I felt like I had to go through these things, and I had to keep on trying to please him, and I had to keep on cosplaying as this perfect robotic woman that cook, clean, fuck, cook, clean, fuck, cook, clean, fuck. And I just couldn't take it no more, because I mean, y'all, I'm a good worker, right? All you gotta do is tell me what to do, and I will push out good results. I'm a good worker. I can be robotic in a certain sense, but I have to be loved for who I am. I have to. I can't be in a relationship, cook, clean, fuck, and you don't love me, or you know, cook, clean, fuck, and you don't want me to post on social media. Cook, clean, fuck, and you don't want me to dress how I want to dress. Like, you don't even love me. You know what I'm saying? So I can be domesticated. I can be cooperative. I can be robotic, right? And I won't even have a problem with it. But you have to love me for who I am. I cannot be anyone else. I have to be me. Because that's number one. You know, even though I love being in relationships and I love love, like I said before, you know, I have a Jupiter in Libra. Like, a bitch like me, I can stay in a damn relationship. I love love. You know, Taurus and Libra are both ruled by Venus, and that's like a love planet or whatever. And you know, all the Tauruses and all the Libras I know are long-term relationship type people, right? And I'm definitely like that, but you have to love me, because before I have my Jupiter in Libra, baby, I'm an Aquarius through and through. I'm an Aquarius sun, Aquarius rising, and I'm a Taurus moon, and I must express who I am. I must be who I am. I must express myself creatively. And if you don't want me to do that, and if you're trying to suppress me, I will put myself over you, you know, at some point. So CJ said, this isn't the same guy you were doing couple videos with on IG, right? Yeah. I mean, that's the only guy I was really making YouTube videos when we were dancing and doing TikTok videos. That was him. Listening to these love stories with Tupac, Do for Love instrumental playing in the background makes these stories magical. Let me find out you got a soundtrack to my lives. He wanted that Kevin Gates girlfriend, stay in the kitchen. Yeah, that's what he wanted. And you know what's crazy though? Kevin Gates. Wait, you say Kevin Gates or Kevin Samuels? Kevin Samuels did not oppose women being ambitious. That's the thing. He did not oppose women having money and being ambitious. Kevin Samuels used to literally brag on his successful women friends. Like, one time I was watching one of his videos, and he was at this high this high end event, and he was showing his friend in the camera, and the woman was well dressed and she looked like she had money, and he was like, bragging about, the people he associate with. So it's not like Kevin Samuels didn't like women having careers. But and the thing is, it's like, I feel like I would have been like literally the perfect prototype, because that whole fit, feminine, and friendly, I'm literally that naturally. I'm that naturally. It's just that I wasn't willing to be abused. I just wasn't. Dick Tracy, hey, welcome to the live. Was about to say you messed up the name. Yeah. I said Kevin Gates on accident. Kevin Samuels. I like, Dick Tracy said, I like Kevin Samuels. He calls out, I like Kevin Samuels. He calls out men too. Look it up. But a lot of girls hate Kev. It's cool. I've definitely seen Kevin Samuels, videos when he was going in on men. And it's pretty refreshing. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty refreshing. But one thing that I think that Kevin Samuels was doing after a while is he wasn't actually being, like, in some of his lives, he was being a little bit irrational just for the views, right? So if you watched Kevin Samuels, because I used to watch Kevin Samuels, right? If you watch Kevin Samuels, you would know that he never wanted to conversate with people who was aligned with him, because it didn't bring views, right? So when people would call into the live and they'll be like, I just want to say that, I love what you're doing and blah, blah, blah. He would almost like sound annoyed. He would be like, okay, but do you have any disagreements with my prompt? And they'll be like, no, I don't disagree with anything. Okay, thank you for calling. And he would get someone that would oppose him. So Kevin Samuels, yes, he was coming from a good place, I feel like, in the beginning. But once he started to realize he was gaining a lot of fame and notoriety and his views were going up, I feel like sometimes his interactions would be irrational. And when I say irrational, I mean, even when the girls were clearly perfectly fine, they were making money, they were, their bodies were nice or whatever, he would try to find something to be wrong with them, just to increase the engagement and stuff like that. So yes, I do feel like overall, he came in this industry with good intentions, but I do feel like some of his lives, he was performing a little bit and he was trying to be problematic. And, but the one that went the most viral, when he was like, you're average at best, he wasn't lying. Obviously, like, stuff like that, you're not lying. But some lives, he was just like, it was just like, what? You know what I'm saying? It was just like, what? Like, some stuff didn't even make no sense. So, but I get it. It's a mix between helping, and it's also a mix between entertainment. And, a lot of times when you give guys a little bit of power, it's like, y'all, they don't even know how to take it. They don't know what to do with it. They just abuse it. So I do think that he abused his power sometimes, but I do, overall, I do agree with what he said. Because even Shira 7 has said the things that he said, and girls weren't coming at her in her comments. Shira said, some of the same things Kevin Samuel said 15 years ago. How she was basically explaining how a woman's looks is equivalent, like a woman's looks is basically her currency, and it is equivalent to a man's net worth. Kevin Samuels basically preached the same thing. And people weren't coming down Shira 7's neck about that. Women were agreeing. You know what I'm saying? So, there's some things I agreed, with him about. But other times, I knew he was just being performative. Okay, so Dick Tracy said, you're right. He changed. You're right. He changed and overdid it to the women for views. Yeah, he exaggerated his real self. He did. He did. And I'm glad you're able to admit that, because he obviously did. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially when you actually watch the evolution of his content, even from the beginning when he was talking to women, toward the end, it was a huge difference. It's like, damn, like, do you hate women, you know? So he was doing it for entertainment toward the end, which is not wrong because, hey, you know, once you get that little YouTube check, you know what I'm saying, when one of your videos hits 1 million views, you want to keep on duplicating that. Even if the situation is not totally organic or genuine, you want to try to manufacture those viral moments over and over, because I'm pretty sure he was getting paid from YouTube. Okay? He was getting paid. So, CJ Kid said, speaking of which, would you do live calls with people to talk about subjects like he did? Oh my gosh, I don't know. I probably wouldn't call because I'm too shy. No, and not experienced enough. But it would be cool to see you interact with people live. You know what? I thought about that, but I wouldn't know what to do. Like, I wouldn't know what my topics would be, right? You know, I'm not no damn expertise or whatever. I can just say my experiences and give advice from my perspective. But what do y'all think that I should talk about? So, okay, so just before, so y'all know what my goals are, so I can make sure that I'm aligned, right? I do like talking about stuff like this. I do like talking about self-awareness, with the intent to empower yourself, you know, and things like that. I do like that. I do like talking about growing online. I do like talking about, you know, growing your YouTube channel, starting your product lines, and just creating new streams of income. Like, I like talking about stuff like that. So, like, what do y'all think I would talk to people about? Because I honestly feel like right now, while I'm trying to attract more people to my channel who are interested in growing their brands, it's not as easy as I thought it would be. Like, a lot of times people just like conversations like this. They don't really have an interest in being an entrepreneur, you know what I'm saying? So I don't want to like stuff it down y'all throat, but I mean, I can talk about it. Like, I do have a lot of experience with selling products and making a lot of money in this industry and stuff, but I don't know, like, it would have to make sense, you know? Like, yes, I do like having these genuine conversations, but I do need it to make sense, you know, financially. Like, even though, like, I know that streaming can end up making me money or whatever, but I really don't know, y'all. Like, I'd be stuck in between doing just literally what my heart feels versus doing what my heart feels and makes sense financially, you know? Because I don't want to just be online, you know, talking all day and night and it's not translating into anything like material. Like, I want to be able to really like help people in real life, like tangibly, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I like to talk about life and I like to talk about spirituality and stuff, but like, I don't know, like, how can I translate that into, you know, making money from this, you know? But I don't know. So just give me some ideas. Or should I just trust my process and just keep going live every day and not worry about it? Because that's an option too, you know? That's definitely an option too. I could just not worry about it. I cannot worry about the money, and maybe it'll just, these lives, as long as I keep on showing up every day as my authentic self, maybe it'll turn into something that I never even expected. Who knows, you know? Okay, so CJ said, I will say that someone that would, I will say that someone that would do should have thick skin. Because if they can't take words or aggression from people in real time, if the combo goes south, probably won't feel comfortable. Well, me, I'll be fine. I'll be fine because I've been in this space for so long, nothing can really offend me. And if someone comes in my life and they start saying hurtful things, you know, I'll just honestly just let them make a fool out of themselves. And, you know, let them keep talking so people can see how psychotic they are. And then I'll just kick them out, you know. Okay, so CJ said, just trust your process. You seem happy and have good workflow. It was just a suggestion. Okay. But yeah, I have thought about it though, because I know that I know that talking to people and stuff like that, you know, it gives me a way to connect with y'all on a more intimate level. So I would like that. But honestly, I feel like if I do go live and I do invite people onto my live, it would be for like hairstylists, and it would be for girls in the service industry that want like real-time advice. So, you know, an idea that I had was I'll have like my iPad, right? So like if someone comes up on the live, right? And I ask them, okay, give me your Instagram. So they'll give me their Instagram, and I'll look at their Instagram from my iPad, and they'll just be asking me for business advice or whatever, and then I'll give them a page audit in real time. So I'll be like, okay, I feel like you have to adjust your bio. You know, how come you don't have your location in there? How come you don't say what the hell you do? I'm just like, how come you don't say what you specialize in? I would also add highlights to your, you know, like I would basically give people live brand audits. So that's what I thought of doing. But, you know, I just have to have more people that's interested in growing and being an entrepreneur and stuff. Because, you know, it just seems like, I don't know, it just seems like my following on YouTube is just not interested in that. I don't know, like, I don't know if that may be like a self-limiting belief, because I'm just not like as, like I haven't been as consistent with the business content. But I don't know, it just seems like people are not even interested. So I don't know, like a lot of times I'm really confused about my path though, I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, should I just keep on just following my heart? Who knows? Okay, so CJ said, up to you, but only you know what you have time for. For the outside looking in, it seems like you're doing a lot. I like that. Because in my brain, it's like I'm never doing enough. So to y'all, if it feels like, you know, I'm constantly showing up, then that's what's up. Okay, Dick Tracy said, I want to get my cosmetology license soon, like that dude on Queen Latifah movie Hair Shop. Okay. Yeah, YouTube is always up and down. Yeah. Okay, cool. So what do you want to specialize in? Like hair cutting, coloring? You're doing a barber program too? Because, you know, all barbers have to get their cosmetology license too. So they end up like graduating with a barber license and a cosmetology license. Namaste 2014 said, I want to see you doing a day in the life. Okay, I can definitely do that. Little vlogs. I can do that. I have to get more acclimated with vlogs, you know. But I definitely will. Oh my God, thank you guys for giving your opinions. Okay, Prime Lux said, I want more information about YouTube growth. Been following you for years, so I'm interested. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, CJ Kid said, lives every day, doing hair and your own business sounds like a lot. It is a lot, but you know, I haven't been going live every day just for the last like week. But not consistently for like a year, you know, like I have to be consistent for a year before I can even call myself consistent in that area. But I definitely consistently put out, you know, shorts, you know, hair tutorials and stuff like that. You know, I'm consistent in some ways, just not in all ways. But yeah, but also I'm not too hard on myself anyway, you know. I'm just very self-aware of how to grow. Like I'm very self-aware of what my limiting beliefs are and what my debilitating bad habits are, you know. But that doesn't mean that I'm like, you know, super hard on myself or whatever. I just know what's going on within myself. But yeah, so I'm very, very glad that, you know, you guys are letting me know, because I was really confused. I'm like, do they even care about do they But yeah, so my plan honestly was to go live, talk about personal things, and then alternate between personal topics and business topics every other day. So today I was supposed to talk about something business because I talked about personal yesterday. But I was like, you know what? I really want to talk about this personal subject though. So I just went ahead and, follow my heart. But, I'll definitely, go back and forth between, YouTube growth and starting your own product line and making money, online and, personal. Because honestly though, the personal isn't really just only about my life. Like, it's for my prototype. It's like for the me prototype. Girls who are like me, girls who are creative, girls who are ambitious, girls who tend to experience things that highly ambitious girls go through, like those are the girls I'm talking to. So whenever I talk about a personal topic on my streams, I'm pretty sure a few girls can relate. So, yeah. Okay, so Dick Tracy said, I want to braid hair the best for women and men. Okay. Maybe meet my future wife. I can do her hair, but I swear I'm not gay. No. I never even assumed you were gay, but okay. That sounds nice. Namaste said, you remind me of Alexis Crown. Do you know of her? Alexis Crown. Is she a YouTuber? Because I feel like I could possibly know what she looks like and just not, be able to put a face to the name. But what does she do? I want to know what she does. But yeah, you guys. So, probably tomorrow or later on in the week, I'm definitely going to talk about more of how to start your own product line and how I grew my channel and how I actually make money from my videos in multiple ways. So that seems to be something that I can talk about in my sleep, literally. It's just that sometimes when you say things over and over, you kind of think that you're being redundant, and if you're not getting immediate responses from people, you think that they're not interested, but it's really just because you just really haven't said it enough, or enough people haven't heard you say it. So maybe I just need to calm down, be consistent, and keep on talking about what I know about, because that's the only way I'm going to really attract girls that need that type of advice or need that type of content. So Namaste said she's a natural hair model, I think, or a social media brand ambassador type girl. Okay. Alexis, let me see what her name was. Alexis Crown. I'm gonna have to search that. CJ Kid said, I want to do something promotional. I want to do some maybe promotional art supporting you and a few other women. Okay. Prime Lux said, yes, you're doing a great job and love the transparency. Thank you. I definitely, have tried to stop myself from telling my stories online and doing story times because people telling me that me talking like this is telling my business, or it's ruining my brand, or I'm getting people in my personal life or whatever. But like I said before, I don't really see it like that. I just don't. Like, if I can learn from my lessons and I know that they don't define me, I don't think that my story times will define my brand at all. It's just like, if I, connect my stories to a lesson or some type of, awakening moment, then that's literally what they're used for. They're used to learn from, literally. And girls like me who can relate to me in certain ways can also hear my stories and say, you know what? I'm not the only one with a bunch of fucking haters. I'm not the only one who intimidates men for no reason. I'm not the only one. It happens to Easy Breezy too. You know, and as long as people can, you know, relate to me, and as long as people can learn from my stories and understand that you're not the only one going through this, and therefore become more confident in themselves, you know, that's all that matters. It's all that matters. Okay, so Prime Lux said, no, it's relatable, and you never know what another person is going through. Definitely. CJ Kid said, for free and fun. So keep a lookout on the other app, on Instagram, since YouTube won't let me post a name. Okay, you mean Instagram? Yeah. So, you know, I absolutely love this discussion, you guys. Love it. But let's see if we can like circle back to the main topic and see if I can expound on that some more. But men and women can relate to you. I love you, my nigga. Appreciate that. So, ambitious women are constantly misunderstood. People think that ambitious women have no feelings. People think that ambitious women are not nurturers like other women, like we're not able to be submissive to our partners like other women. People think that ambitious women don't want to be mothers. They don't want to be domesticated, which is simply not true. People think that ambitious women have this duty to just constantly give and give and give and give and give and give and give. And really, people think that about women in general, but especially with ambitious women that happen to have resources or that just happen to have, you know, finances. People just expect us to give and give and give no matter what. No matter what. And the moment we put our foot down, or the moment we have boundaries, we all of a sudden become the bad guys. Now we're the bad guys. Now we're masculine. Now we're this and we're that, right? But really, it's just us choosing ourselves and finally learning self-respect. A lot of ambitious women, before they were ambitious, they were doormats. They were literally people pleasers. I am a recovering people pleaser in the living flesh, okay? And really, like, my people pleasing tendencies did not stop until like my 30s, because I feel like it ended with my last relationship. But before that, it was like with all my friends, trying to please all my friends, trying to make sure all my friends felt seen, and I was making sure I was sharing my resources enough for them, making sure I was doing everyone's hair so everyone doesn't feel left out, making sure I was giving everyone, you know, at least 2 free wigs so they don't feel like so they don't feel like I'm showing favoritism to other friends, you know, like. I was literally people pleasing to the highest freaking degree for the majority of my life. And I just stopped doing that with my last relationship because that relationship literally took everything out of me. Like every last bit of people pleaser that I had in me was dried up from that relationship. And now I'm totally living for myself. Totally. I'm totally putting myself first. And I understand that people are still going to judge me. Not online, but, you know, in my personal life. People that want access to me that don't deserve it anymore. People that have disrespected me but still want access and things like that. I know people are going to judge me for turning my back on them and for ghosting them and for not allowing them to do the same thing to me twice. I know they are. I know they're probably going to try to paint me out to be the villain, and oh my God, I know she's like this and she's not really perfect and blah blah blah. And it's like, did nobody compare me to a perfect being but you? Did nobody compare? I didn't compare myself to a perfect being. You know what I'm saying? But I've had so many people like trying to find my faults. Like even in my relationship, my own boyfriend used to try to like pinpoint certain things about me that he felt like wasn't perfect. Like, oh, you're really like this, or da da da, or like tried to clock me, right? And it's like, wow, like you motherfuckers is really y'all are really always trying to find out what's wrong with me. Like that's kind of crazy when you think about it. Like, why are you putting me on such a high pedestal where you are literally making it your life mission to find out what's wrong with me? That's weird. I never said I was perfect. You're the one that's comparing me to a freaking angel. I did not ask to be on this pedestal. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just showing up me. I'm just showing up being me. You're the one you're not really perfect, and I can prove it. Like, fuck you. Okay. So, Amande said, what people think of you is not your problem, okay? F them. Period. Never was, never will be. Namaste said, it sounds like you're reflecting or problem solving to make your next relationship the way you want it to be. I don't know. Facts. Because one thing I tell myself, and one thing I honestly truly believe, is all of my relationships get better and better. I never regress. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm always growing. Like my relationships are always like a few years like away from each other. I was never in a relationship, broke up with that person, and then just like fell into another relationship like a week later. Like I don't do stuff like that. I normally have long breaks. So in those breaks, inevitably I grow as a person. So I end up choosing different, right? So before, if I, chose a guy that let's say he needed me in certain ways, like he needed me financially, but at the same time it made him feel emasculated. So every time I helped him, he hated me more. Or he became very abusive or verbally abusive or whatever. Like, let's say that was someone that I chose before, right? I will never choose that twice. You know what I'm saying? So then another guy, he said, sit now. I finished my Gatorade. I finished my Gatorade. We just gonna have to turn up the temperature until the whole thermostat explodes. But then, like another relationship, I chose someone who was he was very nice, he was very sweet, but once again, he didn't really have the financial backing to even go half with me. So that caused emasculation problems within him, and he started to kind of like throw little jabs at me for no reason and stuff like that. And I never chose that twice. So with my last relationship, that was better than the one before, and twice as better than the one before that. So now that I understand what's going on. I understand what I'm choosing. I understand what I'm signing up for. I understand the red flags. I understand the red flags that I ignored. I know exactly what I ignored. So now, my next relationship, I promise you, it's going to be way better than my last. And let me tell you the type of guy that I'm looking for, right? I'm looking for a very mature, self-aware man. I'm not looking for any qualities like surface level qualities, right? Like, oh, he has to be overly like masculine, or like, I don't even think in that way. He just has to be mature. He has to be self-aware, and I can work with that. Because my last relationship, he was not self-aware. and he was not mature. So it made it hard to communicate, and it made it hard to basically do everything, right? But if I meet a man, or when I choose a man who is mature and who can communicate, or no, who is mature and who is self-aware, we can damn near get through anything, right? Namaste said, that's me. We can damn near get through anything. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm always going to be the type to apologize. I'm going to be like, I'm sorry I talked to you like that. Because I always do that. And I'm always the type to take accountability for my actions. And I love that. Like, I love growing. I just love it. Like, that's who I am. I'm not offended by constructive criticism. You know what I'm saying? So I need a partner that also loves growing. Some men, they just are comfortable not growing, and they want to find a girl who wants to accept them in that space because they don't plan on growing. You know what I'm saying? But the man that I want to be with, he has to desire to grow. Like, he has to desire to want to be healthier and healthier every year. He has to desire to want to be more, closer to God and more self-aware every single year. Like, he has to be on a progression thing like this. You know what I'm saying? He don't have to be like, but he has to be like this at least. Just like the way I am. We have to be moving at the same pace, or not the same pace, I'm sorry. We have to just be moving in the right direction, So, they say that they tell women, only get with simps. Do not get with a man that feels like he's above women. Do not ever get with a man that is not willing to beg, baby, please when he does her wrong. Do not ever get with a man that is too prideful to stand outside your house with the boombox. Baby, come back. You can blame it all on me. Never get with a man that's too prideful to do stuff like that, right? So also, in essence, I want a man that has, some appropriate levels of simp in him, like 75% simp. I want a man that is not too prideful to say, baby, I'm sorry. I love you. I love you. I was tripping, baby. I was just tripping. I'm sorry. Like, I need a man like that. I need that. Want that. Gotta have that. You know what I'm saying? I don't want no prideful, over masculine man just constantly trying to prove his masculinity all day, every day. I don't want that. I would never date a guy like that ever again. Ever. T said, dang, I'm going through the same kind of thing. I think it's rare to find that kind of empathy these days. It is. A lot of these men have been drinking the red pill Kool-Aid and they drunk, okay? And they don't know how to get out of it. CJ Kid said, what are you looking from a man financially before you give a lot of guys hope? T said, because I do that for him. Facts. In my last relationship, the 2 times we broke up, I'm the one that came to him. Let's talk. Let's be friends again. Let's just forgive each other and move forward. Like, I'm always the one to come forward with the olive branch. I want a man to come to me with an olive branch once in a while. You know what I'm saying? Like, why is it always me? I want a man to want me as much as I want him. So believing in God is a must for you. Well, here's the thing, right? Okay, so I'm going to answer the question, what do you look for? Okay, financially. So financially, right, I don't mind going 50-50 with a guy. I really don't. The problem is when you go 50-50 with a misogynistic guy, right? So the whole idea of 50-50 is the bare minimum for me to be in a relationship with a guy. If he's not misogynistic. If he's misogynistic, 50-50 will never work for me, because he's just going to want you to sacrifice more than him and do more for him while he just basically has a free ride, gets free vagina, gets free meals, and gets a free maid, and he still abuses you, right? That's how my ex was. If he's misogynistic, if he even has a lick of misogyny, and I can sense that in him, I probably won't be with him anyway. But let's say like his real views about women comes out in little ways, like a year or two after we start dating or whatever, and I realize it. But I'm already in love with him, and I already, plan the future. I will make him pay 100%. Because if you're misogynistic, that means you low-key have a disdain toward women, and you low-key see women beneath you. So if you see women beneath you, why would I go 50-50 with you? Why would I help you build if you literally look at me in a lower regard? Why would I help you? You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to come 100%, and then we can talk. Since you think I'm beneath you so much, you know what I'm saying? Since you, whatever, you know what I'm saying? So I don't mind 50-50, but he has to be like a guy that is like a simp. Like he has to be one of those really, really good guys. Like me and him can really build together because he's not intimidated by me. He literally loves me. He wants to support everything I do. I'm gonna obviously support everything he does, but it just seems as though most men are misogynistic. That's why going 50-50 is such a gamble nowadays, because even when guys pose as a nice guy, they still think that women should be slaves. Like deep down in their spirit, they really do think that women should be cooking, cleaning, effing them when they want, and paying half the bills, and all they have to do is work. A lot of men really do think that, right? And that whole ideology is misogynistic in general. So, so the guy, he would have to literally want to do things for me. He would have to want to clean up the house, to make my life easier. He would have to desire these things. He would have to desire to want to cook for me. He would have to desire to make my life easier. And trust me, like once I find a guy that actually desires, like it makes him feel good, it makes him feel like a man to make my life easier, we'll stay together forever. I don't care if we're going 50-50. We'll stay together forever. And normally a guy like that, if he's able to, he'll do a little bit more than 50-50. You know what I'm saying? He'll be paying 50-50 and my phone bill, or, investing in my ads or something like that, because he literally just wants to see me happy. He wants to see me thrive. But if he don't want to see me thrive because he's afraid that I'm going to outshadow him or outshine him, and, he's trying to like sabotage me in little ways, we ain't going 50-50 shit. And as far as like religious views, you don't necessarily have to be a part of a religion. Because before, I thought that I wanted a religious man, but I realized that it doesn't even matter if he claims a religion or not. Because like I told y'all before, I was in a relationship with a fake ass Muslim. So so he can be religious, he can be spiritual, but the things that I'm actually going to look out for is the actions of being spiritual. So for example, if he calls himself spiritual, but he has never fasted, he doesn't diet, he doesn't care what he puts in his mouth, I know he's not really spiritual. If he claims to be spiritual, he claims to be religious, but he has vices that he doesn't want to work on, like if he's in like, alcoholic and he doesn't even desire to work on that, or if, he's a constant smoker and smoking is getting in the way of his brain function and it's getting in the way of his productivity and he doesn't want to fix it, I know he's not really spiritual. You know what I'm saying? And I say that loosely because everyone is spiritual. Everyone is going through a spiritual experience, right? But not everyone is evolving. Okay? Not everyone is evolving. So he would have to be evolving for me to actually consider him a spiritual man. Just because he says that he's a Christian, or he says that he's a Muslim, or he says that he's whatever, that don't mean nothing. That literally means nothing. You know what I'm saying? I would have to see if he's actually progressing and actually evolving. So yeah, like I don't want a man that's just constantly self-destructing. Like when you're with a partner who is constantly self-destructing, do you know how hard it is to be in a relationship with them? It's like you have to be not only their girlfriend, but you also have to be like their like constant motivator, their advisor, their, you know, please baby, just please drink this smoothie. Baby, please drink this tea. Like hey, you about to die. Like when do you want to eat healthy? When do you want to eat healthy? God damn. So sometimes, you know, people's deprivation, whatever, or people's self-sabotaging ways can actually pour onto you, and it can stress you out. And I don't want a guy that doesn't care about his life. You know, he has to care about his life, or I'm not going to be with him. We can be friends, but you know, I'm sorry. You have to actually have a desire, you know. Like if I'm with a guy and he literally like only eats 4 for 4s from Wendy's and he hates vegetables, like I don't eat broccoli. I don't eat cauliflower. I don't eat okra. I don't eat, like, I don't like tomatoes. Like if he's a guy like that, I can't do nothing with that. I can't, because all that's going to happen is I'm going to try to cater to you. I'm going to be making all these big fat meals. I'm going to be eating big fat meals with you. I'm going to get fat right along with you. And we both going to go downhill, you know? So, you know, with guys like that, we can always be friends, but we can't be together, you know? Okay. Namaste. Why would a guy be intimidated by you? In my opinion, right, reasons why my ex was intimidated by me was because when I posted myself online, and let's say I had like a dress on, or I had something that showed like a cleavage or whatever, and I had like guys in my comments that I can't control, right? So in my last relationship, I would try to mind my boyfriend's feelings by not responding to any of the male comments. I wouldn't even like them. I would only like and respond to the females in my comments. But guys can be intimidated by the type of attention that a woman draws, because he's constantly on edge. Like, you know, you like my girl? And I get it. But I cannot control that. And when you're blaming something on me that I cannot control, that's when it becomes a problem. Now, here's what I can control. I can control what attention I'm feeding back into it. Like I can control commenting back to them. I can control liking their comments or hearting their comments. I can control that part. But if you're getting mad at me because men are commenting on my post, that's a you problem. Right? That's one form of intimidation. Number 2, I know now that I want a regular man. Okay? I want a regular man with a regular freaking job and a regular friggin' trade. Because the last time I dated a guy that wanted to be a superstar, he was always in competition with me. That is another way guys are intimidated by me. When guys want to be a star and they see me naturally being a star, it's intimidating. And no guy wants to feel like he's his girlfriend's bitch, or you know what I'm saying, like he's under his girl. No guy wants to feel like that. So me having a following, me not being scared to show up online and be myself and just be and grow and start a new business and make money from it the next week, Like, stuff like that can be very intimidating to a guy who's still building himself up, especially if he wants to be a star, he wants to be an influencer, or he wants to be a podcaster or a celebrity or whatever. Seeing me already embodying that can make guys intimidated, for sure. And when people are intimidated by you, they start to do things to hold you back because they want you to slow down. Like, slow down, bitch, damn, slow down. Let me catch up. So he would do things to, like, very like microaggressions to to sabotage me or to prevent me from doing certain things because he didn't want me to just keep on growing. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, when I'm in a relationship, when I feel loved, I become even more productive because I feel like I'm really free. Like, damn, okay, I have my man, you know what I'm saying? I'm not out in this dating pool, swimming lost. You know, I actually have my foundation. Now I can really that's how I feel. That's how I be feeling. So when I'm in a relationship, I become even more optimistic and I become even more creative and even more productive. So to a man that, is having mental blockages and confidence issues and self-esteem issues, it can be very intimidating. So number one, it's compliments. Number two, it's feeling beneath your girl. And number three, oh, this is a big one. I think this is what this is. I believe that I'm a very logical person, and I think that can be very intimidating. So instead of me, right, getting in an argument with my boyfriend and being like, fuck you, nigga, like, I'm not like that. I'm the type of person to sit down and really talk about things, you know what I'm saying? And really get to the bottom of things and get to the root, And sometimes when you are like that, it can make people feel exposed and it can make people feel embarrassed. And it can make people feel mentally dominated by you. And it's not anything that I do on purpose. It's just that I be right a lot. I don't be right 100% of the time, but I be right 80% of the time. And sometimes that can make men feel very intimidated because it's like, damn, I ain't got shit on her. She's not abusive. She don't touch me. She just beats me in arguments. You know what I'm saying? And that can make a man want to tear you down too, because it's just you're just constantly, honestly, to a man that's really not self-aware of his behavior, it can almost be insulting. Who does she think she is? Calling my shit out, or you know what I'm saying? Bringing up things that I felt that I think, or I thought that I only knew about myself. You know what I'm saying? She's just seeing straight through me. And sometimes it can make men feel very exposed. It can make men feel vulnerable. And it can make men feel you're literally too smart for me. You're literally seeing through me and I just can't take it. I want to be in my vices in peace. You know what I'm saying? I want to be in my demons in peace. I want to go through this stuff alone. I don't need you just calling my shit out every 2 seconds, But really, if that stuff is being projected onto me, I have to call it out. It's one thing if you're self-sabotaging. That's one thing. You know what I'm saying? I will love you through all that. But if your self-sabotaging is pouring off on me and you're projecting on me, now I gotta call your shit out because now it's affecting me. You know what I'm saying? So it don't really matter what a guy is going through in life. I will always be there for him. I'll always support him. 3 months after I met my last boyfriend, his car got stolen. His truck got stolen out my apartment complex. And I felt obligated to let him drive my Jeep. So he was driving my Jeep for 6 months. Then the police found his car in the neighborhood. So we got the car back. But then his confidence was so shot from that. I don't know what happened, but he didn't get his insurance back together and stuff like that for like another 6 months. So he ended up like driving my car for almost a year, and I was there for him. I was there for him. So once again, it doesn't matter what you're going through. You can be self-sabotaging in certain ways, and I will love you through that. But the moment you start projecting that shit on me and telling me that my fault is this, and I'm at fault for this and that, and I can't even control that shit, I gotta clock that shit because you're tripping. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, those are the 3 things. Those are 3 ways I feel like men are intimidated by me. And it's unfortunate because it's just unfortunate. Okay. So Namaste said has to be used to you being popular. He has to understand and maybe have a sense of accomplishment already. And you know what's crazy? I felt like he was accomplished. Like, I felt like he was accomplished. But I guess because he had this like burning desire to like be online, and I was already online, he felt like I was doing more than him, but I really wasn't. I was just doing more in my own lane. So for example, like he was the president of his college. He got a degree. You know, he always has a decent, you know, paying job. He was like, you know, he's like leaders of certain organizations, and I feel like there are things about him that I admire. So it's like you're dominating in your own neck of the world the same way I'm dominating in my neck of the world. But just because you like what I'm doing, now it's your perspective that I'm doing more than you when I'm really not, for real. I'm really not. We're really just in our own lane, but you keep poking at my lane. What's she doing? Like, nigga, stay in your lane, okay? Stay in your lane, dominate your lane, be confident in your lane. Because you're over here thinking that I'm more than you and I'm doing more and I'm shining more, and I'm not. I'm just in my own lane. You know what I'm saying? So I do feel like he was accomplished, but in his mind, he wasn't accomplished. So, you know, you can't help people that think like that, you know? So Prime Lux said a lot of it is his childhood trauma that maybe both parties have been dealt with that come out in their relationship. Yeah, he definitely had childhood trauma for sure. Like for example, he told me that when he was younger, he used to be like into girls, and he was like a very, like, he's always been romantic. Like even in our relationship, he was very romantic. He was a very helpful guy. He was very handy, and he was very romantic. That made it easy for me to be with him, right? Because when a guy can fix anything, hell yeah, I think I'll be with you. Like, you can fix my car, you can fix the toilet, you can fix the, he can fix damn near anything. And he was very romantic. So that made it tolerable, right? That made his anger issues and everything else tolerable. Until it wasn't tolerable anymore. But he told me that when he was younger, he used to be, you know, very sensitive and, you know, whatever. And when he liked a girl, he would write her a poem. So one day he told me that his big brother found a folded up poem in his room, and he read it out to the family and embarrassed him, right? And he basically said that his big brother and his mother was calling him a faggot, right? His big brother, you know, the one that he looks up to, and his own mother, the one that's supposed to be his soft spot to land, and the woman that's supposed to be his, you know, his everything emotionally. And his big brother and his mother was calling him a faggot. They were laughing at him. They were reading the note out loud, and they were basically just clowning him, right? Also, he told me that he had a natural interest in doing certain things like singing, writing music. He loved to cook, and he liked to dance. That's normal things for a man, right? But in a misogynistic household and in a very toxic household, that's sissy stuff. That's sissy stuff, right? So every time he would express who he really was, which was a guy who was interested in cooking, interested in writing poetry, interested in dancing, he would get clowned for it by his own mother and by his brother. And they lived in New York. So, you know, like a lot of people from New York, they have a ghetto mentality anyway. Like they're just, I don't know what it is about people from New York, but a lot of people from New York are just naturally low vibrational as fuck. So yeah, so and I'm not saying anything because half my family from New York. Like my whole mom's side is from New York, my whole dad's side is from Jamaica. And you know, I'm not saying that my family is like that, but some people in my family are like that. Like they're just like that. I don't know what it is, but a lot of people from New York, they are missing fucking screws. So yeah, so he would get clowned for being who he really was. So that's why I feel like when we grew up and now that we're adults, he's constantly trying to fight for his masculinity. You know, he's just constantly trying to just force women to see him as this man. And it's like, nigga, I already do see you as a man. You're already very masculine to me. I love the way you are, and I wish you were more of who you really were for real. I wish you did cook for me in the relationship. This nigga ain't cooked for me once. I wish you did wrote me poetry and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Jay said, don't do my city like that, Breezy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like I said, half my roots are from New York, so I'm sorry. But yeah, like I wish you did write me poetry. I wish you did cook for me sometimes. I wish you did, you know what I'm saying? But you're so traumatized based on what people said about you and trying to call you soft because, you know what I'm saying, that was your interest. Now you try to get so far away from that you're over here trying to prove that you're some type of masculine man and you're not even yourself. Now you're abusive. You know what I'm saying? And it's just unfortunate. So that was some of the things that I feel like affected him as a child and that made him stray away from who he really is. And it's really sad, honestly, because people receive the most blessings and people align themselves with their higher purpose when they are themselves. Like you have to be as authentic as possible. That's why like so many people become successful on YouTube because, you know, when you're on camera, when you're in a video, you can't hide much. You know, I mean, you can hide still, but you know, more of your authentic self comes out in videos rather than photos, right? So that's why like a lot of people are successful on YouTube because people are more aligned with who they really are in real life, you know? But when you get away from yourself, trying to prove that you're this and prove that you're a man and you're gonna respect me, I'm a man, I'm not gay, I'm not a faggot. You know, it's that little kid in him that's trying to just force that validation. And it's like, no one is telling you that. Like, you're literally replaying moments in your mind. I never told you that you were a faggot for cooking. I never told you that. I'm not your mom. I'm not your brother. Like, why are you projecting those experiences on me? I would love for you to do those things for me, but you don't do it purposefully. Like, you literally purposefully use the weaponized incompetence so that you can feel like you have some type of control over me or you have some type of dominance over me, when really, the more you don't do things for me in the relationship, or the more you don't pick up after yourself, or the more you don't cook for me, or the more you don't do things for me, the more I feel like you're fucking useless. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I wish he did show up as his true self. I wish he did show up as his authentic self. I wish he did show up as his soft simp self. I wish you was a simp. We probably could have still been together today. But since you're trying to prove yourself to the world that you're this masculine and you don't chase women and blah, 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 and even if you're in the wrong, you don't chase your girlfriend. Okay, cool. You don't have to chase me. Now get the fuck out of my apartment. Okay, so CJ Kidd said, want him to write a whole love record about you. And he already did. Okay? It's probably not out, but he already did write a song about me. Both of my last boyfriends wrote a whole song about me. Like, get the fuck out of here. Okay, so Namaste said, I cook, I got you. I don't do poetry though. That's fine. I can live without the poetry. J Mastermind said, you gotta think through a lot of girls. You gotta think though. A lot of girls want us to be more open with them, but that's seen as suspect. And it takes away any masculinity, respect in their relationship. Keep it real, Breezy. See, guys judge each other about being sensitive in their relationships. Women don't do that. Men say that women do that, but it's really because their homeboys say that. A lot of men say that women think a lot of things that men think, right? Now, here's the thing. Here's what guys get confused. Women like it when men express themselves because all women want to do is be your damn therapist. Women love doing that shit. They love talking you through your problems. They love it. They love it when men are expressive, right? But here's the problem. Here's what men think are expressive. Here's what men think are expressive, but it's really not. It's really them being controlling, right? Men think that them being expressive is them saying, I just feel like you shouldn't wear that dress because you looking for male attention. That's what men think expressing themselves is. Of course I don't want you to express yourself in that way, my nigga. Because you're trying to control me. You know what I'm saying? That is different from a man telling his woman, you know, I just feel like, you know, the relationship between me and my mom is toxic and I don't know how to go about it because I want to respect her, but she can't hear nothing about herself. Women love stuff like that. So the moment a man says that women don't like it when men express themselves, they are literally willingly lying. They're willingly lying. Or they are willfully denying the fact that what they really mean by being expressive is really expressing their disdain toward the woman. That's really what they mean. So yeah, women love it when you're expressive. Women love that shit. They love talking through it with you. They love being your therapist. Women love that. But when your expressiveness comes out as anger and it comes out as you expressing your feelings about your disdain toward your woman, women don't want to hear that shit. You know what I mean? So men have to understand that no, we don't like it when you're constantly bitching. Women don't like it when you're constantly nagging. Yeah, if that's your version of expressing yourself, yeah, I'm gonna call you a bitch. Of course I am. You know what I'm saying? Because you got a problem every single day just like a bitch. You nagging every single day just like a bitch. So men have to understand that, right? It's not that women don't like that you have feelings. Women don't like it when you're constantly nagging and bitching about your girl. So it's a difference. Okay, so CJ Kid said, that's just the world of a man. In the man's world, we have been indoctrinated to show no sign of weakness. Otherwise, you're seen as weak and as prey to other men. It's not to women, it's to other men. Now, in a situation like that, well, I'm gonna read this whole thing first. It's mostly in urban areas that affects kids growing. Facts. Yeah, I agree. Now, in a situation, right? Now, it's mainly men that judge men for stuff like that, right? But let's say you're in a situation to where you're with a woman and someone starts shooting, right? if you are the type of guy, and you may not even know you're the type of guy, right? Stuff just has to happen for you to get an instinctive flight or fight reaction. If you and your girl are at a party and some people start shooting, and you let your girl's hand go and you start running, yeah, she's gonna think you're a bitch. She will. Hold on, wait, let me see how this okay, no sign of weakness, or you're seen as prey or weak or prey. Well, this, I don't know if this totally correlates, but like, let's say, yeah, that situation happens, someone starts shooting and you let your hand go and you start running. She will see you as weak. You know what I'm saying? Versus you covering her and, you know, blah, blah, blah. She will see you as weak. So in situations like that, you know, you have exposed yourself to be a non-protector, right? You know what I'm saying? But like in other situations, like regular stuff, like expressing your feelings or even crying and stuff like that, women don't judge men for that they're in a relationship with. Other men judge men for that. Now, if you're not in a relationship with that woman, she may not have no sympathy for you. You know what I'm saying? So if you're just like online crying, you know, people may not have sympathy for you, but that's men and women. But the woman that you're in a relationship with, and, you know, y'all have like, you know, y'all are a soft space for each other's feelings, your woman is never going to call you weak for crying. Your woman is never going to call you gay for crying or expressing your, she's never going to do that, ever. Girls only call men weak and stuff when they nag like a bitch. And they nag to their girl like a bitch. So you have to understand, it's a difference between nagging, being insecure, and being controlling versus expressing your feelings. There's two different things. Okay, so Jay Mastermind said, so basically it's not what you do, but how you do it. I mean, yeah, it's how you do it, you know? And it's what your intention is. It's what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would love if my boyfriend was more expressive. Like, I would love that. But when it comes to complaining about what I'm doing and what I'm wearing and stuff I'm doing, shut up. Focus on yourself. You know? I'm not cheating. I'm not lying. I'm still cooking your meals. I'm still doing everything as a girlfriend. Leave me alone. Like, you clearly just don't like me. You know what I'm saying? And that's the expressing that women don't want to hear. I don't want to hear your disdain toward me. Period. Okay, so life on hard mode, facts, CJ. Okay, so CJ said, my point is, you're in that mode of being hard so much that you may not know how to turn it off, facts, and be vulnerable, facts. So one thing I noticed, right? I know a grandmother who told her grandson to give me a fist bump, not a high five. So okay, I can agree with that. A lot of women, they don't realize that they have that internalized misogyny too. Like, what's not masculine, or what's not normal about a high five? You know what I'm saying? Like, why even try to make it seem like a high five is feminine? Like, stuff like that. A lot of women have that internalized misogyny too. And not just, you know, your grandma, but a lot of women from like the millennials or like the baby boomers, you know, that, or yeah, the baby boomers. Is that like Gen X or something? I forgot. But yeah, those women do have a lot of internalized misogyny because they were born in a time where you had to find a man to survive, literally, you know? So if a woman had a man or not, kind of like quite literally determined like her survival in the world, you know what I'm saying? And her status at the same time. So being married before was more of a status symbol and more of like a prestige symbol. Like, yeah, I'm kept and I'm taken care of for, and I have a husband, so I'm good. So if you didn't have a husband, you were more like a wild woman in the street. You know what I'm saying? That's how you were looked at. So a lot of women had that more internalized misogyny back then than they do now. Now that women can make their own money, you know, being married is not such a symbol anymore, and it's not such like a status symbol or whatever. It's kind of just like, oh, you know, you're married because you obviously want to be married, not because you have to be married. So yeah, a lot of women have that internalized misogyny too, and they, you know, added to the negative stereotypes of regular shit. Like crying is not feminine. Crying is a human trait. High fives cannot be feminine. A high five versus a fist bump. There is no femininity and masculinity in a high five and a fist bump. You know what I'm saying? Some things are just regular human stuff. So, you know, some people are just a little brainwashed. And it doesn't help when it's the women too. When it's the women too, it's like we're doomed. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so Namaste said, oh, okay, you cook too, and you from Jamaica. I like that. Well, my family from Jamaica. I'm the only one from Georgia. My mom is from the Bronx. Most of her family from the Bronx, New York. My dad is from Kingston, Jamaica. My big brother and my big sister are both from the Bronx, and I'm from Georgia. I'm the only Georgia peach. So, J Mastermind said, Breezy need to start giving lessons on these topics. I see you flourishing, no cap. Thank you. Namaste said, yeah, you're right. You know your history. Thank you. I appreciate that. And honestly, like when I do these lives, like I know that there are men and women looking at these lives. I mean, that's not the reason why I try to be unbiased, but I literally think like that in an unbiased way because I know that it's really not against men and women. It's not even like that. It's just that we have to be aware of the system that we're in. We're living in a simulation. You know, different countries have different traditions and different ideologies and different ways of thinking, and their society runs different. And it just so happens that we live in a very capitalist, very misogynistic simulation. So in order for women and men to be able to be in, you know, loving relationships and stuff like that, we have to start looking at each other as equals, and we have to start respecting each other, because the relationships are not going to work if it's only the woman trying to, you know, be perfect for the man. If the man is not trying to be that for the woman too, and not showing her the same respect and stuff like that, and letting her be a human and letting her be herself, like if you're just constantly insecure, constantly worrying about who she could be giving attention to, constantly thinking about that, it's like, my nigga, like, you really think someone can take your girl that quick, don't you? Like, you really insecure about your girl leaving you, don't you? Like, when we start flipping it like that, I feel like that's when men will start looking at themselves different. Like, okay, my girl wore a dress, right? And instead of me blaming her, like, oh, you want male attention, let's flip it on you. You really think a nigga can take your bitch, huh? You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to start flipping it, because that's not her problem. The way she looks in a dress is not her problem. The type of attention that she receives is not her problem. It's not her problem. If you have a problem with the attention that she receives, that is your problem. That is your insecurity. And men have to start looking at it like that. This is a me thing. It's not a her thing. It's a me thing. You know? Okay, so CJ Kid said, think about it like this. These indoctrinated teachings go back generations. It's like telling someone to fight something that is surrounded by people who have been passed down these ideals for generations. It's hard. It's hard. That's why it's like, you know, all we can do is try to unpack our misogyny as men and women. It's not just men, because a lot of women have this too. Like, for example, I've seen this in real life. Like, a mother, like, let's say a little boy is crying because he fell. Little boy, get up! Stop all that crying like a girl. That's misogyny. That's misogynistic. For a mother to tell her son that is extremely misogynistic, and it is extremely unfair. It's so unfair. You won't even let this boy be a human around you. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just the men with the internalized misogyny and the the patriarchy, whatever. It is the women too. It is the women too. A lot of times, little boys grow up with women that won't even let them be human around her. They can't even, they're not allowed to be human. So the first experience they have of misogyny comes from their own mama. You feel me? It comes from their own mama. So that type of stuff is so hard. It's packed on there. It's packed on there. So, breaking all that stuff down, it's not going to happen overnight, but we have to start working on it. Because once again, I know we want to be in relationships. I want to be in a relationship, but I'm not going to be in a relationship with a man that is trying to control me and that has to continuously assert his dominance over me every freaking day. I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. If you're not secure with our relationship, if you're not secure with where we are, and if, I can try to hold your hand, I can try to reassure you, I can try to do all that stuff. But if it doesn't really mean anything to you because you're that insecure, if me trying to reassure you that I love you and I'm only here for you by doing acts of service for you and, continuing to cook for you, continuing to support your endeavors with no questions asked, continuing to, give to you, satisfy you sexually. And if everything I'm doing for you is not telling you that I'm here for you, I don't know what will. I don't know what will. What do I have to do? Do I have to wear a trash bag every day and not speak to no one for me to make you feel comfortable? Do I have to delete my social medias and be totally unseen by the world to make you feel comfortable? If that's what's going to make you feel comfortable, get the fuck out. Once again. Because I'm not selling my soul for this relationship. Come on now. I won't even sell my soul to the devil for a $20 million contract in the music industry. You think I'm going to sell my soul to a nigga? Shit. Jay Mastermind said, real talk, you smart, thank you, and like-minded individual. Never lose that spark. I appreciate you. Okay, so CJ said, like, telling them to fight reality at that point. They said, guys, I don't know, have to be willing to look outside what he has known his whole life and take info from others. They do. Jay Mastermind said, yeah, if my girl a baddie, I let her choose if she's staying or entertaining it. Doesn't make any sense. Try to control somebody's clothes. Come on now. If you want a nun, go find a nun. If you want a conservative girl, go find a conservative girl. Like, one thing guys try to do, which I just do not understand, is they will go for the baddies and try to force her to be the nun. They will find a baddie or let's say not even a baddie. Let's say they will find an ambitious girl and they will try to force her into being unambitious and letting go of all of her endeavors so that she won't intimidate him or be bigger than him. It's like, go for what makes you comfortable. Like, stop trying to like fish for the big fish, and then when it's time to pull it in, nigga don't got the muscle. You know what I'm saying? Just go for what you want. Go for what you know you can handle. Go for what you know your self-esteem can handle. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like, it's really messed up out here. It's crazy. Oh my gosh. But you guys, my phone is about to die and I have other things to do, but I'm about to check out of this stream. But I definitely had so much fun talking to y'all, and I'm gonna be back here probably tomorrow. So thank you so much for tuning in to this stream. This was honestly one of the most entertaining streams I've ever had. Like, wow, I laughed so much today. Damn, this was a good ass live. It really was. I had so much fun. But yeah, so I'm checking out. Once again, I appreciate y'all for interacting and giving y'all opinions and stuff like that. And I'm glad that, you know, the guys in this live are not totally sensitive when I start talking about misogyny and the patriarchy and stuff. Because a lot of guys like to totally like deflect like it doesn't exist. And they like to, you know, whatever. But I'm glad that y'all aren't like totally denying it, because obviously it's real. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that all men are bad and all men are this or whatever, but I'm just trying to bring clarity so that we can, you know, be harmonious, and, you know, we can actually like transform what a healthy relationship is, or even create it, because what we thought were healthy relationships really weren't. You know, like when we talk to our grandparents that were in these marriages and had all these kids or whatever, like, yeah, it looked like the goals, right? It looked like goals. Like, oh yeah, I want to be with my partner for 80 years too. But when you actually listen to them, especially your grandmas, when you listen to their stories, they will tell you how miserable they were. And because women had no rights, they weren't able to leave, or they would probably be freaking homeless or living in a home with their kids. So, you know, in this age of Aquarius, I think that the new times that we're going into, it's forcing us to adopt a more egalitarian mindset, which is a more humanitarian mindset, which aligns with Aquarius energy. We have to treat people like our equals. And if we're not treating people like our equals, we don't have and the egalitarian basically means all humans should be treated equally, right? So if we're not treating women with respect, we're not going to be able to have access to them. We're not going to be able to be in relationships with them. We're not going to be able to coexist. You know what I'm saying? We have to respect everyone and treat everyone like a human, or you're just going to be stuck in the past, honestly. Like, if you're not respecting people, if you're not respecting women, if you're still trying to, you know, get a girlfriend so that she can cook for you and clean for you and be a slave, and that's your true intention and that's your true mentality, you're never gonna have a happy, long-lasting relationship. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. And as long as you have those old ideologies about women, you're just not going to be able to transition into the future smoothly. You're always going to be finding yourself getting into it with women. You're always going to find yourself breaking up with women. You're never going to find yourself in a happy relationship. The woman is always going to be mad. She always going to feel dissatisfied. You know what I'm saying? You still controlling, like, you still controlling as a man, like, that's so like 1980. You know what I'm saying? You still trying to control how your girl dressed. That's 1980. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're not going to transition well into this new world. You're just not. So yeah, anyways, shout out to Aquarius energy. I'm so glad I was born in this dimension. I mean, in this this era of the world, because woo child. Woo. Anyways, so once again, thank you guys. I'll see y'all in the next live. Make sure you like this video, share to support, and I'll see y'all next time. See you later.